Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic part 1. Now let's start the fanfic. Rain pours overhead as thunder roars and lightning flashes in the skies. It is one of the worst storms Konoha has ever seen. But, it seems like the weather isn't exactly random. No, it is more like it is angry at the village. People are rushing to get into their homes, shops being closed early, windows being closed and boarded up. But, if any could see outside the village gates, they would see a small figure running away from the village. The figure is in the shape of a small child. In fact, it is a small child. If anyone with good eyes could have been watching, they would be able to see a little boy running. They would have been able to see his clothes, a white shirt and some black shorts with some sandals tattered like someone ripped them. They might see his blonde hair all dirty and messy. But, if they could really see, they would be able to see that on his cheeks are tears mixed with the rain going over his whisker marks. His name is Naruto Uzumaki, who is 7 years old. Now you may ask, why is he running and crying with his clothes messed up? Well, a couple hours earlier, he was asleep on his bed when a group of people came into his home and dragged him outside of his apartment. They started to beat him for reasons he didn't know. After a couple of hours of beating him, he saw that the group burned his apartment, destroying everything in it. The group walked away with satisfied smirks on their faces as little Naruto lay on the ground, beaten to an inch of his life, crying. He cried as the sky opened up to cry with him. He felt his bruises and cuts and whatever else they did to him heal, for reasons he didn't know, until he had enough strength to get up and start running, heading to the gates. And that's where we find him, running away from the village he called home, even if it isn't a good one. He keeps running, not caring where he might go, not caring if he will be homeless, just as long as he isn't in the village anymore. He runs and runs for what feels like hours, but is around 20 minutes, until he runs into someone and falls. The person he bumps into looks down, wondering what hit her. "What the?" she says as Naruto looks up, lightning flashing and illuminating the woman. She is over 5.5 feet tall, wearing a green haori. Under that she has on a gray, kimono-style blouse held closed by a broad, dark blue obi that matches her pants. She also has open-toed black sandals with high heels, not that he can see since he is looking up still. Her straight blonde hair is waist-length with shoulder-length bangs framing her face. But, the most noticeable feature of her are her huge. On her cleavage is a necklace. Also he notices on her forehead a small diamond. He isn't sure if it is painted on or if it's a birthmark. She looks down at the boy as he looks at her in fear, wondering if she is going to hit him like the villagers had done to him. He closes his eyes as he puts up his arms in a defensive position as he says with tears running down, "Please don't hurt me. I'm sorry I ran into you." The woman looks at him as she kneels. She speaks in a soft voice, but loud enough for him to hear. "Hey, I won't hurt you. What's this about hurting you?" She goes and picks him up as he shakes from the touch. Noticing he's not on the ground anymore, he looks at the woman, wondering what she will do. She looks at him, wondering if he will answer. "Hey, going to answer my question, little one?" He nods before speaking. "I can't keep getting who hurt in my village." The woman frowns at that. "What do you mean by that?" He answers. Well, I don't know why, but they hurt me a lot. Ever since I got out of the place I used to live as an orphan." He says between sniffles before he starts to cry more. "Even in there I got hurt and I don't know why. I never did anything wrong. Honest. Please, don't take me back there. I want to leave." He goes and cries on her chest as the woman consoles him. "Hey, don't cry. I'll protect you." Naruto stops crying, but keeps sniffling. "You will, of course. What's your name?" she asks. "I'm Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki," he says in a somewhat cheerful tone. The woman wonders why his name sounds familiar, but can't remember at the moment. "What's yours?" She looks at him. "I'm Tsunade. Tsunade of the Sanin, the Slug Princess." Naruto looks at her with a weird look, forgetting at the moment what happened prior. The Sannin. Tsunade laughs a hearty laugh as she nods. Yep. Guessing you don't know, huh? He shakes his head as thunder roars and lightning flashes once again before slowly dying down. Tsunade looks to her right before speaking. Well, Shizune, looks like we won't be stopping here for a while. Besides, I still haven't come to terms with the past just yet. Naruto looks where she is looking to see a girl in her early 20s. She has on a black bluish kimono with white trimmings, held closed by a white obi. Her hair is black and straight, stopping above her shoulders with bangs that cover her ears. Shizune has a sad and glum look, but decides that it might be best, considering what she just heard. Yes, Tsunade-sama, she says as she holds a big umbrella over all three of them. Oh, this is Shizune, my student. I'm teaching her in medical jutsus. Tsunade says, answering an unasked question. Naruto nods before he hears an oink. He looks around, wondering where that sound came from before Shizune giggles. I see our little friend also wants an introduction. Naruto looks at her, pondering what she means until she brings her free hand up, only her arm is carrying something. He looks and sees a pig, wearing a pearl collar and a dark red jacket, which looks odd to him. Her name is Tauntaun, Shizune says as Naruto gently pets the pig. She oinks a pleased oink. Naruto looks at Tsunade. So, I can go with you. Tsunade nods. Naruto smiles and hugs her crying, this time happy tears. She hugs him back before she looks at his face and sees he's asleep. She chuckles at that before looking at Shizune. Come on, let's go to another town then. Yes, sensei. Shizune says before they walk off away from the village, but opposite of where they came from prior, unbeknownst to them how much both of their lives will change. Meanwhile, while in a different village, an almost exact situation is occurring. However, it isn't raining like in Konoha. But, there is another child running. It is a young girl, who is the same age as Naruto. She also has tears running down her face as she runs, her shoulder-length hair moving from her running. Her hair is unique since it is red, bright red, but not exactly pink. She is wearing a red dress as it moves with her running that reaches her knees, flapping around with some open-toed sandals. Her name is Tayuya and her reason for running is what she heard a couple of hours ago. See, her family is poor since where they live isn't exactly the best of places, especially when their house is run down. But Tayuya managed to try to have a decent childhood. That was until she heard some noise and went to check. She saw her parents, along with a weird-looking man, talking in the kitchen. Well, more like her mom was arguing with her dad and the stranger. She couldn't hear much, until she heard that her father was planning on selling her to the stranger. She was, in a word, shocked. She didn't want that. Her mother didn't either, until Tayuya saw her get hit and taken down. She shed silent tears for her mother before she decided to get out of the house as fast, but silently, as possible. Only bothering to take a picture of her small family and a flute her mom made for her, she crawled out of the window and headed to the gates of her village. She passed by some people, but none bothered her, none noticing her tears. And now, we find her still running, away from her village. Away from her father, who she thought he loved her, who shouldn't have tried to sell his daughter, no matter how tough times were. Away from whomever that man was, even though she heard faintly the name Orochimaru. Right now, all she wants is to get away. But, where would she go? Who would help her? Where could she be safe? All these questions run through her mind as she heads in the direction of where Naruto, Tsunade, and Shizune are heading. What's the future for these two young children? Only time shall tell and only fate will know. The sounds of birds can be heard, signifying that morning has arrived. However, for one little girl, it isn't a good one. Tayuya had been running all night until she came up to a small village. She headed inside, not knowing where she was, but knew two things: she was tired and hungry. She couldn't find food, but decided it would be better to find somewhere to sleep. She went to a small alleyway between two buildings and found a small box to sleep in. It's not much, but it's better than nothing. It wasn't a comfortable sleep as the ground wasn't flat and was cold. When the sun lit up the sky, she gently opens her eyes, seeing some movement in the streets. But, instead of getting up, she decides to stay in the box, unsure if anyone would help, but keeps hoping. Meanwhile, a certain blonde boy is getting up at the same time. He opens his eyes, rubbing them to get the morning crust off his eyes before looking around. He sees he is on a bed in a clean room. Wow, looks better than my apartment, he says in a soft whisper as he keeps looking around, until his eyes fall on Tsunade, who is sleeping on a futon, very passed out in what looks to be an uncomfortable position. He also sees Shizune on a bed next to the futon, looking peacefully asleep. So is Taunton, who sleeps in a bed meant for dogs. Naruto is unsure of where he is at until he remembers last night and what had happened that day. He puts his knees close to his face and wonders what he had done wrong to make people act that way towards him. Ever since he can remember, people treated him either like he was a monster or that he didn't exist. Except for a certain old man who sometimes helped him when he could. And two other people who work in a ramen stand. He wonders if they might miss him. He doesn't really get his hopes up since he is just a kid. He gently sheds some tears as he sits on the bed, the sunlight shining on him, trying to hug him. A couple of minutes pass before Shizune wakes up, gently getting up and stretching a bit. She looks around, seeing her sensei passed out cold on the futon, making her sweat drop. She should really cut the sake. Especially now since we have a new companion. Although, she might not even cut it for him. Thinking about Naruto, she turns her head to the bed where Naruto slept, hoping to see him asleep so he doesn't see Tsunade in that state. What she sees makes her heart ache. Tears running down his face from what she could see as she hears him sobbing quietly. She softly gets off the bed and walks over to Naruto, gently sitting on the bed as she goes to console him. She hugs him gently, making Naruto startle a bit before laying his head on her chest. What's wrong, Naruto? He looks up at her, his eyes a bit red as more tears threaten to fall. I was just thinking of my life and how bad it was. He says softly. I was either hurt or ignored, except by 3 people. Shizune looks at him questioningly before gently whipping his eyes. Who Naruto? He smiles softly before saying. Their names are Hiruzen Sarutobi, who is the Hokage, Tsuki and Ayame, who are 2 ramen stand owners. The Hokage is the one who gave me the apartment and sometimes helped me. Tsuki and Ayame gave me food. He gets a bit sad, however. Although, sometimes the Hokage is too busy to help. Shizune looks at him with soft eyes, knowing who he is talking about. So, Hokage-sama helped Naruto. I wonder why he didn't do much else though. Shizune was about to say something before they both hear a noise, well more like a loud grunt. They turn their heads and see Tsunade on the floor, still asleep. They sweat drop at that before Naruto asks, is she always like this? Shizune can only sigh before nodding. After a rude awakening from Shizune, aka, dumping cold water on her, Tsunade sits on the bed where Naruto slept, trying to get rid of the nasty hangover she has and dry her hair. You know, that wasn't necessary, Shizune. Well, if you didn't drink so much, that wouldn't have happened and little Naruto wouldn't have seen you like that. Tsunade chuckles nervously. Hey well, couldn't help myself. Although, I guess he shouldn't be exposed to that. Shizune nods at that. Of course, sensei. By the way, what are the plans for today? While they talk with each other, Naruto is taking a shower, a long shower. He never showered with warm water before, so he is taking his sweet time in it, giggling at random with a blush as he cleans himself. Man, warm showers are great. He sighs in content before shutting off the water. He gets out and dries himself off before putting on some new clothes that Tsunade must have bought. Or maybe Shizune. Yeah, probably Shizune. He thinks to himself before heading to the sink and brushing his teeth. Afterwards, he looks out the open window before taking a big breath of fresh air. Ah, good air. Maybe from now on, things won't be so bad after all. Boy, is he wrong, but he is also right at the same time. He sighs before he looks down and notices a mop of red hair. He looks closer and sees a girl in a box, shivering. What is a girl doing alone there? Is she like me? He thinks before heading out of the bathroom, passing the two women and out the door. Tsunade and Shizune look at the door then each other. Did we just see a flash of yellow go by? Tsunade asks. Shizune nods, wondering why Naruto would just leave like that. Tonton is on the bed as she oinks before getting off the bed and heading to the door. You want to follow Naruto? Shizune asks. Tonton oinks at that as Shizune and Tsunade get up, wondering what happened with Naruto. Naruto walks to the alleyway, well more like sprints to the alleyway to see if that girl is hurt. He spots the box and slowly walks to it, not wanting to startle the girl. When he gets close, he kneels down and gently pokes her head. Hello, are you okay? He asks as he pokes again. Hey, wake up, please, tell me you're alive. He pokes again, this time getting a result. Just not one he is expecting. His face is met with a fist as he crumples backward, blood coming out the nose. Tayuya slowly opens her eyes and looks up to see a boy on the ground. She gasps and gets out of the box. I'm so sorry. Naruto groans before sitting up and screaming. What was that for? Tayuya looks at him oddly with a small blush. Sorry. I don't like being poked. Naruto looks at her as he holds his nose. Well, I was just checking if you're okay since you were in a box. He says before two shadows come over them. Tayuya backs up as Naruto looks up. Oh, hi Tsunade. Hi Shizune. Tonton oinks. Oh, hi Tonton. He says sheepishly, scratching his head. Tsunade looks at Naruto, then at Tayuya, then back at him. Naruto, why you run off like that? Oh, sorry. It's just I saw this girl in a box and was wondering if she is okay. He looks at Tayuya and sees her clothes are dirty. Are you okay? Tayuya nods as she looks down. I'm fine. You sure? She nods again, a bit fast. By the way, I'm Naruto. He says, holding out his hand with his signature smile. Tayuya looks at him and shakes his hand. I'm Tayuya. He giggles and rubs his head again. So, what are you doing out here? Don't you have a home? He asks. Tsunade and Shizune stay quiet, letting the kids talk. Tayuya looks down sadly. I left it, she says softly. Naruto's smile disappears. Why? She softly starts to cry. Because my father tried to sell me. Naruto's face turns to confusion with a bit of anger. Why? And to who? Tayuya looks at him, still crying. I don't know, and to a guy named Orochimaru. I think, she says before she hugs Naruto and cries some more. Naruto sits there, unsure what to do, until he hugs her back and comforts her. Guess we are kinda alike. We have no home now. Meanwhile, Tsunade and Shizune shiver a bit at hearing his name. They look at each other before nodding. Come on, you two. Let's head to the hotel. It might not be safe out here. Especially if he might be nearby. Tsunade says, keeping that last part to herself. The kids look at each other before looking at her and nod. They get up and follow Tsunade and Shizune to the hotel. None notice that Naruto's nose is healed and the blood stopped coming out. Back at the hotel, the kids, the adults, and one pig, are on the beds in their room. Tayuya told them what happened before she got to this village. Needless to say, there are mixed emotions. Tsunade is angry, Shizune is sad, and Naruto is sad, angry, and a bit confused as to why a father would do that, but consoles Tayuya. Tonton oinks sadly at hearing her story. Tsunade, do you know about this Orochimaru person? Naruto asks as the kids look at her. Tsunade straightens herself up before looking at the kids. Yes, I do. He is one of the Sannin, like me, and also an old comrade before he Well, I guess defected or something. Or maybe was always like this all his life, but never showed it. Basically, stay away from him. He is dangerous. Tsunade looks at a nearby clock. We should leave soon, but you, she points at Tayuya, need a shower. We have some of our old clothes you could try on. Not sure if they might fit, however. While Shizune and I get them out, you shower. Tayuya nods and walks into the bathroom while Naruto sits there. What about me? Tsunade looks at him. You just sit there until we get this done, then later, we can eat. Sounds good. He nods at that as his stomach rumbles. Tsunade smiles at that while she and Shizune go and get everything ready, taking out some of their old clothes, mainly Shizune, and laying them out for Tayuya. Hope they fit her, sensei. After Tayuya showered and tried on the clothes, the ones that fit her anyway, the small group sets off. They walked out of the room of the hotel, then checked out, hitting the streets soon after. It is midday, so there are quite a few people on the streets. Tsunade is leading, with Shizune and Tonton next to her. Naruto and Tayuya are behind them, holding on to Shizune's clothes as they walk. It takes a bit, but they finally make it out of the small village they stayed in. A couple of hours have passed as the small group finally make it to the hot springs village. Both Naruto and Tayuya take in the sights of the village since neither were ever this far from home. Naruto looks at Tsunade and asks, "So, why is this called Hot Springs Village?" She looks at him. "Well, because they are famous for their hot springs here and have the most," she says as they all hear a shrill. They look at the direction it came from, but shrug their shoulders. Wonder what that was about. Tayuya says as they head in to find a hotel, until, pervert. They stop in front of an entrance to one of the hot springs as a person gets kicked out of it and lands in front of the group. They all see that the man is covered in bruises. Tsunade and Shizune facepalm themselves while Tonton just shakes her head. The kids look at the man, wondering what happened exactly, until Naruto looks up, seeing a woman in a towel, pissed beyond belief, then notices a sign. This guy was in a women only hot spring. The girls grow tick marks while they all smack him, waking him up as the woman in the towel throws a brush at him, knocking him out again. And you better stay out, pervert. She screams before noticing the group and quickly apologizes before going back in. Naruto sweat drops at the scene, but quivers a bit in fear. Making a mental note from all this. Note to self. Don't make women and girls angry. They are scary. He kinda forgets about this later on. Naruto looks at the man before looking at Tsunade, remembering their face palming. Tsunade, do you know this man? Tsunade looks at Naruto before looking at the man and nods. Unfortunately, yes, she says before they all notice the man jump up like nothing happened. They all jump back a bit before the man grabs Tsunade's hands and asks, "Harem, is that you?" Her answer is a punch to the top of his head, making him fall face first to the ground, making everyone there and anyone seeing nearby sweat drop. "Yes, Jiraiya. And don't call me Harem. I told you 1,000 times." The man now named Jiraiya stands up like nothing happened, again. He stands tall at 6 feet, 3 inches. He has waist length, spiky white hair tied in a ponytail with 2 shoulder-length bangs. He also has red lines that run down from his eyes. On his forehead, he has a forehead protector with the kanji for oil. There is a wart on the side of his nose, which the kids notice and giggle at that. He is wearing a green, short shirt kimono and matching pants. Underneath, he has on a bodysuit mesh armor. The only visible parts come out of his sleeves and legs of his outfit and from the open shirt. He also has hand guards, a simple black belt, traditional Japanese wooden sandals, and a red haori with 2 yellow circles on each side, with a scroll on his back. Overall, to the kids, he looks a little odd, but it also shows not to mess with him. Even though they might. Sorry. But, what are you doing here? He says and notices Naruto and Tayuya. Who are the brats? They both twitch their eyebrows with tick marks on their foreheads and both yell, Hey, I'm not a brat. Jiraiya shrugs it off. They are Naruto Uzumaki and Tayuya. Tsunade says. Jiraiya twitches at the name before looking at Naruto again. Holy crap. He yells at him. Naruto gets behind Tsunade before she hits Jiraiya again, making him hit the floor, again. What is wrong with you yelling at him? She yells at him before he stands up again. Sorry Tsunade. But, I know him. Although, I thought he was dead. Saying that last part to himself. They all look at Naruto before he looks at Jiraiya. I don't know you. In fact, who are you? Tsunade and Shizune just hang their heads and sigh, knowing what is coming. Me. Well, he starts as smoke appears before he speaks again. During his introduction dance, Tayuya leans to Naruto and whispers in his ear. This guy is a whole lot of weird. He nods to that before he whispers in her ear. I know. But, if he knows Tsunade and knows me, he might help us. Besides, I want to know how he knows me since I've never seen him in my life. They notice the smoke clear and him almost done with his intro. I am Jiraiya of the Sannin. Toad Sage of Konoha and Mount Myoboku. The kids see him making an odd pose, before noticing he is on a large toad. Whoa, that toad is huge. Tayuya exclaims while Naruto nods. Very huge. Jiraiya faults at that, making Tsunade and Shizune laugh. Hey, what about my intro? He whines. The kids look at him impassively before shrugging. It's okay. Jiraiya looks down at that before muttering something about stupid brats. Naruto then remembers what he said. Wait, you're a Sannin. Like Tsunade. He nods at that before the kids look at them both. So, how come you're not as mature? Tayuya asks, making the women laugh more. Hey, I can be very mature. He exclaims. Tayuya and Naruto narrow their eyes before looking at each other and nodding. Right, they say before the toad puffs out. Hey, where did that toad go? Tayuya asks. He went back to Mount Myoboku. Jiraiya says. The kids look at him in confusion, making him sigh. Before he explains, however, Tsunade clears her throat to gain their attention. Jiraiya, you still haven't explained the fact how you know Naruto. She reminds him. He nods as he speaks. Come on, let's get something to eat and I will explain. The group nods and follows him to a small restaurant. There, they sit and order food while Jiraiya explains everything he knows so far, except leaving off a few facts. After about half an hour of talking, there are mixed emotions at the table. The girls are all angry for different reasons while Naruto is angry, sad, and confused, with a small, tiny bit of happiness. Tsunade is wondering why her sensei would do that. Shizune is wondering how Naruto's life might have been different if he had his godfather in it. Tayuya is thinking both and also if she should hit this guy. The table is quiet. So, you're my godfather? Naruto asks softly, but loud enough for them to hear, making them jump a bit. Tayuya is consoling him by rubbing his back as Jiraiya answers, yes. Naruto looks at him, tears in his eyes before he grabs a cup and throws it at Jiraiya. Not expecting it, even though he should have, it hits and breaks on his face, pouring the contents on him as he falls back. Then why weren't you there for me? Naruto yells angrily. The patrons and staff of the restaurant look at the commotion while Jiraiya gets up and grabs a napkin, whipping his face. Look, I didn't know, Naruto. He yells back before Naruto runs off. Tayuya runs after him and so does Shizune. Tsunade looks at him, scowling. Why did sensei tell you Naruto died? Jiraiya looks at her as the restaurant goes back to normal after seeing what happened, some people whispering to themselves. I don't know. Probably because of my spy network. You know he has to look after the village first. He says. Tsunade looks down at the cup she is holding, contemplating his words. Still to tell you that none of them survived is harsh, even if his parents both died. But, Naruto told me about how his life was in there and it wasn't pretty. To think of a village mistreating a child like that. She spoke in a soft voice so only they both could hear. Well, You do know how and why Minato died, right? She nods. Well, did you know he used Naruto for that? She gasps and looks at him. You mean? Jiraiya nods as Tsunade puts the pieces together and puts her chin on her hands that has her fingers interlaced and elbows on the table. So, Naruto is the Kyuubi's container. Now I see why his life was hell. Kami, are people stupid? Meanwhile, Naruto ran to a park and sat down on a bench. There are a few people there, but are doing their own things. Naruto looks down as he softly cries. He puts his knees up and holds them as he softly keeps crying before he feels a pair of arms surround him. He looks up and sees Tayuya holding him. He hugs her back and cries some more on her shoulder while she holds him, rubbing his back. Calm down, Naruto, he does and wipes his eyes, looking at her. Thanks, Tayuya. She smiles as he softly blushes, looking away. Wow, she's pretty when she smiles. Tayuya giggles a bit from seeing his blush. He's cute when he blushes. This in turn makes her blush and look away too. Shizune arrives, with tauntaun in hand, but stops short and hides nearby, seeing the kids blushing. She giggles a bit and waits. Naruto and Tayuya finally compose themselves and look at each other before giving a small smile. However, for Naruto, that smile turns to a frown and looks down, rethinking about earlier. Tayuya sees this and holds him again, rubbing his back. Still thinking about before. He nods at that. I just don't know why Gigi would tell Jiraiya that. My life wouldn't have been that bad if he had been there for me. He says in a hushed tone. Tayuya nods at that. Well, at least you aren't there anymore and won't be hurt. You can start a new life. She says as Naruto looks at her. Yeah, thanks. But still, there are so many questions, let's go back. Maybe Jiraiya can answer more. Tayuya nods and both stand up before they head back as they see Shizune come to them. Naruto, you okay? She asks. He nods and smiles, making her smile in return. Let's go back, okay you too. They nod as they walk away. Unbeknownst to them, they are being watched. So, that's where Tayuya is. I better report to Orochimaru-sama. The figure says before leaving. Naruto, Tayuya, and Shizune, along with tauntaun, arrive back in the restaurant. Jiraiya and Tsunade look at them as they sit back at the table. Naruto looks at Jiraiya. Sorry about the cup. Jiraiya looks back at him with a smirk. Ah, it's okay, kid. Kinda deserved it I guess, but it wasn't my fault I wasn't there. I know. Still, why would Gigi tell you that? Jiraiya looks at him. Well, I guess it was for my spy network. Naruto and Tayuya look at him, confused. It's exactly as it sounds. I have spies all around and it's to help Konoha. They gather information for me and I inform what I have to the Hokage. The kids nod at what he said. You have to know Naruto, the Hokage has to put the village first. Tsunade says as Naruto looks down. Yeah, but still, he could have told you the truth, Jiraiya. At least I would have had someone else that cared. Everyone goes quiet after that. It isn't long until Naruto speaks again. Jiraiya, who were my parents? Jiraiya glances to Tsunade as she does the same in return. They nod in understanding as Jiraiya looks back at Naruto and sighs. Okay kid, I'll tell you, but keep calm when I do. Naruto nods as Jiraiya leans in. Couple of minutes pass until the whole village hears, Nani. Birds flutter away from trees as people wonder, what was that about? Meanwhile in the restaurant, some people look at the kid with a glare while others pick their ears. Tayuya does the same, except her eyes show shock while the three adults and one pig try to gain their hearing back. Naruto, however, is beyond shocked. His eyes are bulging out, anime style. His mouth is open while he looks at Jiraiya, trying to wrap around in his mind what he just heard. Why you mean my dad was the Yondaime H Hokage? He asks in a quiet, but disbelieving tone. Jiraiya, after getting his hearing back, nods. Yes. Didn't I tell you to stay calm, though? Naruto breaks from his stupor and scratches the back of his head with an embarrassing smile. Oops. Sorry. Naruto looks around. Sorry everyone. He blushes and looks down. Tsunade sighs in annoyance before looking at Jiraiya. If I had known his mouth was going to be loud, I should have stopped you. Jiraiya's sweat drops. How would I have known? He argues. She shrugs while Jiraiya looks at Naruto. It might be best to tell the Hokage where you are at. No. They look at Naruto. No. I'm not going back. Jiraiya gives Naruto a contemplating look. But Naruto, I said no. Not after finding out all of this and being mistreated like that all my life back there. I'm staying with Tsunade and Shizune. At least they treat me like I'm human, he says quietly in the end. They still heard him and Jiraiya sighs. Well, how about I tell him who you are with and everything that's happened and that you're staying with them? Naruto thinks for a bit before nodding. Okay. But, also that I'm not going back. Not until either the village forgets about me or they treat me like I matter. Which we all know won't happen. And I won't forgive the Hokage. At least, not yet, and I get at least one hit on him. Just one. Everyone's sweat drops at the last part, but Jiraiya nods at that. Okay, fine. By the way, Tsunade, where are you staying? Tsunade looks at him and shrugs. We just got here, so we haven't found a hotel yet. I see. Well, you can stay at the one I'm at. She nods. Fine, but us girls get a room to ourselves. I know of your little antics. Jiraiya waves his hands in a defensive manner with his eyes closed and a shaky smile. What are you talking about, Harem? She looks at him with a tick mark on her forehead. You know exactly what I'm talking about. He looks away, pretending not to know. The kids and Shizune sweat drop at the whole scene, but laugh to themselves before Naruto gets up. Well, while you two do that, I was thinking maybe me, Tayuya, and Shizune could look around since I've never been here before. Taunton oinks. You too, Taunton. I won't forget you. She oinks happily. Tayuya agrees and gets up before both of them walk out. Shizune does also, carrying Taunton, and follows them while Jiraiya pays for the meal, talking with Tsunade. Shizune makes it outside, but stops when she sees the kids standing there. Hey, what's wrong? Before they can say anything, a voice is heard, sending shivers down her spine. Why? Hello Tayuya. Finally good to meet you. Shizune looks at the person speaking and pales. Shizune shakes as she sees who is in front of her and the kids. Tayuya shakes also as she recognizes the man. Naruto looks at him with his head tilted. Hey, who are you? Why are you pale? And what do you want with Tayuya? Quote. He asks quickly, pointing at him. Orochimaru and two of his subordinates sweat drop at the second question. I am Orochimaru. I was born this way and I came for what is mine. He says slowly, making Naruto shiver. What is yours? Tayuya belongs to no one, so stop looking at her like you want to eat her. Are you a pedo? Naruto says while pointing his finger again. Orochimaru grows a tick mark while the two next to him look away at that as the girls try to hide their giggles. I am not a pedo, you brat. Orochimaru yells. Then, why are you looking at Tayuya like that, huh? You have to be one to be looking at her like that. Tsunade didn't say anything about you being one though, Naruto says, saying the last part to himself, but everyone heard him. Tsunade is here, huh? Orochimaru asks. Yeah, I am here. And would you keep it down, Naruto? You are loud. Naruto chuckles sheepishly as Tsunade and Jiraiya walk out of the restaurant. Orochimaru sees then smirks, but inside, he is sweating. Damn, with those two here, things will be difficult. Well, if it isn't the butt pirate. How you been, Orotem? Jiraiya asks. Orochimaru grows another tick mark. Damn it, I am not a butt pirate. Stop saying that, he yells. Whatever, Orochimaru. Jiraiya says with a chuckle. So, you showed your ugly face, huh? Tsunade asks. Orochimaru chuckles darkly. Of course. After all, Tayuya now belongs to me. Her father sold her to me after all. Tsunade scowls. Sorry, but you aren't getting her since she is under my care. Well then, I guess we can fight it out. Orochimaru says. 2-on-1 Orochimaru is not exactly in your favor. Jiraiya says. Well, I do have my 2 companions. Orochimaru says as the 2 next to him walk forward. Both are wearing identical outfits, sound 5 outfits, but one has blue hair and the other brown. The one with blue hair has red, snake-like eyes while the other has green, normal eyes. Hey, like those 2 can beat us. Jiraiya says. So, Tsunade, the pervert, and the pedo are gonna fight, huh? Naruto asks himself before turning to Tsunade. Are you the normal one out of the 3? Orochimaru answers for him. If you consider a heavy drinker, heavy gambler, and one that uses a jutsu that makes herself look young, but is as old as us, normal, then yes, she is normal. Shizune and Jiraiya pale at what he said while the kids look confused. Jutsu that makes you look young? Tayuya asks. But, she isn't old. Naruto says as Tayuya agrees. They turn to her and see her with a very pissed off, I can't believe you said that, look. They even see her chakra flare, which makes Orochimaru pale, even if it isn't noticeable. Ah crap. Wait, Tsunade, I didn't mean that. He says as he backs up. Jiraiya and Shizune grab the kids and move them away quickly as Tsunade takes a step forward. The ground shakes from that. The 2 subordinates of Orochimaru move out of the way from fear as Orochimaru backs up more. Did you just call me old? She asks slowly as her bangs shadow her face. One thing goes through Orochimaru's mind. Oh. Before he can react, Tsunade gives him a swift kick in his jewels, making him scream a silent scream. She lifts him up then punches him right on his face with a chakra-enhanced fist, sending him flying over the village and into the forest behind it. He goes through trees and branches before landing on the ground. The momentum keeps his body going as he crashes through boulders, more trees, and makes a huge trench in the ground. That causes a lot of bone fractures, broken ribs, internal bleeding, a lot of open wounds on the outside and one of his balls to rupture. All in all, he is out like a light, but alive. The 2 subordinates gasp, but are caught off guard as Jiraiya makes a clone then he and said clone Rasengan them both, killing them and sending their bodies and guts in random directions. The kids gasp at all that as Jiraiya and Tsunade look at them. That was so cool. Naruto says with excitement. Tayuya stands there with fascination. You 2 are strong. How did you get so strong? Can I get that strong? What was that you used, Jiraiya? Can I learn it? Naruto shoots off questions at them, making them chuckle. First, breathe and calm down. Tsunade says. Naruto does that. Okay first, we got that strong since we are ninjas and trained a lot. Second, you can if you want. Third, that was a Rasengan. And fourth, yes you can with enough practice. Jiraiya finishes. Ooh, what about Tayuya? Naruto asks. Yes, she can too, although not sure about the Rasengan. Tsunade says. Well, I want to be strong like you. Naruto says. Me too. Tayuya adds. The Sannin chuckle. Well okay. You want to be like me kid? Jiraiya asks. I don't want to be a pervert, so no. Naruto says, crossing his arms. Jiraiya hangs his head from hearing that. The others chuckle. I want to be like Tsunade. Naruto says with Tayuya agreeing. Don't worry. You 2 won't be perverts. I will make sure of that. Tsunade says. But, he can help when he can, okay. The kids nod as Jiraiya perks up. So, how long are you here, Jiraiya? Tsunade asks. Jiraiya makes some clones to clean up the mess. Maybe 2 days before heading out. I heard Orochimaru was nearby. I was right. You sure it wasn't for the hot springs, Jiraiya-san? Shizune asks. Jiraiya slumps at that as the others laugh. Yeah well, I guess I can stay longer to train these 2. Later, I will go to Konoha and ask why sensei lied to us. Jiraiya says. But for now, let's go to the hotel and get you guys checked in. The 2 women and 2 kids, along with 1 pig, agree as they head to the hotel. They check in as Jiraiya gets a second room for the girls. They drop their stuff in the room then head out again. Okay, so you two want to be strong like us? Tsunade asks. The kids nod in agreement. They walk to a field near the village and give them some starting instructions. The kids stand there baffled. What? That is crazy. We can't do that, Naruto exclaims, waving his hands. You two want to be like us, right? Jiraiya asks. The kids nod. Well, you have to start by doing these instructions. He says. Can't you tone it down a bit? We are just kids. Tayuya says. Fine, just a bit, but if you want to be strong, you have to do what we say. And no, Jiraiya, you can't do anything that will make them go down your path. Tsunade says, making Jiraiya deflate from that. The kids chuckle before doing what they were told. Tsunade, Shizune, Taunton, Naruto, and Tayuya are walking on the dirt path. They just left a different town after stopping there for supplies and after helping someone who was sick. The month was mainly spent in training. For 2 weeks, Tsunade and Jiraiya trained the two kids in exercises they did back when they were young. They also trained them in chakra control, after teaching them what chakra is, by leaf balancing first, especially Naruto since Tsunade found out he has cage-level reserves, much like all Uzumakis. Jiraiya had to leave to go to Konoha after they left the hot springs village to tell his sensei all that has transpired and to ask why he lied to both of his students and little Naruto. He told him he would teach Naruto and give him the toad summon next time he saw them. The group of females and little boy make it to the village in the land of tea. One of the people in the royal family became sick and they needed the slug princess's help. Turns out it is a minor infection, but Tsunade gets rid of it. There, she teaches the two kids about tree walking. They are skeptical at first until she shows them. Since that point, the two try their best at running up a tree. Tsunade has them start at a small one for safety reasons and for them not to overexert themselves. The tree is still 10 feet tall, however, and the first and only branch that is big enough to sit on is 8 feet off the ground. Tayuya and Naruto have the opposite problem. Tayuya uses too little to stick to the tree while Naruto uses too much. Naruto isn't really fazed since he has been dealt with worse. However, he always checks on Tayuya whenever she falls down. The first time she fell, she cried until Naruto made her feel better and told her to keep trying. Tayuya took it to heart since, other than her mother, no one really showed her that much kindness. For those 2 weeks there, the two kids do their best to climb up the small tree. Tayuya makes it the fastest, but Tsunade tells her to run up and down it to build up her chakra reserves. No matter how much Naruto tries, however, he can never really make up the tree, just close to the first branch. Naruto sits by the base in frustration as he wonders what he is doing wrong. Tayuya sits next to him. You okay? Not really. I don't know what I am doing wrong. Naruto says. Well, can you tell me? Well, I run up the tree and just at the last second, I blast off or slip. Tayuya nods and thinks about what he said. Well, maybe you need motivation. Naruto looks at her. What do you mean? I thought I do have motivation. You do, but I mean for a different goal. Naruto nods as he thinks about what she said. How about this? Since you told me to keep trying whenever I fell, how about if you make it up, I give you a kiss? Naruto blushes and looks at her. Tayuya also has a similar blush, but keeps looking at him. Yo, you sure? He asks, wondering why he stuttered. Tayuya giggles, but nods altogether. Naruto grins. Okay. He exclaims as he gets up then holds his hand out. Tayuya grabs it and he stands her up. Watch me get to that branch. Tayuya nods as Naruto makes a running start, giggling, but forgets to apply chakra and slips when he puts his foot on the tree. He flips and lands on his back. Ow! Tayuya runs over to him and kneels down. You okay? Yeah, I forgot to apply chakra. He says, giggling again. Tayuya giggles at that. She helps him up as he brushes off the dirt. Okay, let me try again. Naruto says as Tayuya moves. He makes a running start and, after applying chakra to his feet, starts running up the tree. Meanwhile, Tsunade, Shizune, and even Taunton, watch the two kids. Those two are gonna grow closer together, huh? Shizune asks. Yep. Ah, young love, Tsunade says as she sighs softly. Shizune looks at her. You okay? Yeah, just thinking about Dan, Tsunade says somberly. You think they are watching us? Shizune asks as she looks up. Tsunade nods, closing her eyes. Yeah, you know, Naruto reminds me of Nawaki a bit. Shizune says. Yeah, he is definitely like him. Wonder how things would be if they met. Tsunade ponders. Shizune narrows her eyes. Konoha might be covered in paint and stuff. Tsunade laughs gently, nodding. They would have also competed to be Hokage. Yep. Wonder who would win. Although, they might try to do prank competitions. The two women chuckle at that, Taunton oinking in agreement. They both turn when they hear Naruto cheer. They see him, sitting on the branch. I did it, Tayuya. Good job, Naruto. Naruto giggles as he jumps down. Tayuya walks over and kisses Naruto's cheek. Naruto blushes and looks down, kicking the dirt with his hands behind his back as Tayuya giggles, blushing also. The two in hiding try hard not to go over and, kawaii, the two. Since then, the two train and stay together, even after they leave the tea village. 6 months after running away, the group of four can be seen in a village famous for its casinos. They are inside a casino named the Lucky One. Tsunade is on one of the slot machines as Shizune, Naruto, and Tayuya, with Taunton, are walking around the place. The kids, never having been in one or seeing one, run around, checking out the lights. Even though they have been working with the slug Sanin for the 6 months, these two still act like kids since they still are. During the month of October, around the 10th, Naruto was not really himself. In fact, he was very cautious around everyone, even Tayuya. Tayuya wondered why until he told her. That's when she asked Tsunade and Shizune if they could throw a birthday party for him, even if it is a small one. They agreed and did just that. That day Naruto became closer to the three females, even Jiraiya, who found out from the Hokage. Naruto and Tayuya got the closest however, especially when Tayuya kissed him on the lips. Jiraiya cried, saying he was growing up, then tried to get him on the bandwagon to Ika Ika. Let's just say Naruto never made it on that day. For now, the kids are running around until they get back to Tsunade. Tsunade-san, this place is cool. Naruto says. Lots of colors too. Tayuya adds. Tsunade sighs since she isn't really in a good mood, but smiles at them. She puts in another token in the slot machine, but before she can pull the lever, Naruto grabs it out of curiosity, after jumping for it. Tsunade gasps as he pulls it down and the slots move. Wow, that is cool. Naruto says with stars in his eyes. Tsunade chuckles from seeing his face until lights and sirens blare as the 3 slots show triple sevens. Tsunade gasps as tokens come out of the bottom of the machine. Naruto jumps back, behind Shizune. Did I break it? He asks in a worried tone. Tayuya goes back to him and hugs him as Tsunade scoops up the tokens in some of the buckets. No, you didn't, Naruto. In fact, that is a good thing. Tsunade says happily. The kids look at each other then at her. After a while, Tsunade is seen carrying 5 buckets full of coins. Shizune has 2, Taunton has 1 on her back and the kids carry 2 each. They walk until Naruto and Tayuya stop at a huge casino machine that looks like a wheel of fortune, which is titled that. Tsunade, Tsunade, what does this one do? Naruto asks excitedly. The women turn around, looking at them then the machine. Oh, that one is special. Tsunade says as they walk back to the kids. How so? Tayuya asks. Hey, they are curious about everything. Tsunade looks at them. Okay well, this one lets you win anything. Well, almost. She says as she puts one of the tokens in it. Can I pull this one? Tayuya asks. Tsunade chuckles. Well, I don't know. I don't want to abuse their luck. It would make me look bad. She says, thinking the last part to herself. Please. She whines, making the dreaded puppy eyes jutsu. How she learned, no one knows. Some of the people there chuckle from seeing the scene as Tsunade tries not to fall for it, but sighs and slumps. Okay, fine. Just stop the puppy eyes, please. Tsunade pleads. Tayuya cheers as Tsunade picks her up and brings her to the slot arm. The people watching think it is cute, seeing a grown woman fall to that jutsu, though that jutsu is strong no matter what unless you are used to it. Tayuya grabs the ball end and pulls down. The wheel rotates as people gather, seeing it spin. Tsunade puts Tayuya down as she and Naruto watch it spin, getting dizzy in the process. Spinny wheel make me dizzy. Naruto says with his eyes in swirls. The adults chuckle until the wheel stops, at the prize of 10 million ryo. Everyone, minus the kids, has wide bulging eyes and dropped jaws. No one has ever won 10 million by this machine. Usually, you get 1,000 to maybe 10,000 or go bust, but never in the time the machine was added to the casino has anyone ever won that much. Tsunade breaks out of the stupor first and smiles as she picks up Naruto and Tayuya. Awesome you too. The kids grin at hearing that. Shizune breaks out of her stupor as she, Taunton, and Tsunade grab their buckets and a ticket that came out of the machine and run to the cashier box. The group stands at the box as the woman behind it packs 10 million and 55,000 ryo into a lot of scrolls. She hands them to Tsunade. Have a good day. Don't spend it all now, you hear? She says in a sweet tone, but in the back of her mind, she wonders how it was possible in the first place. The five head for the entrance of the place, until they are stopped by the owner of the place. Sorry ma'am, but I need to confiscate the money. The four look at the man, who is wearing a black business suit and glasses with a cane in hand. He is very short, almost as short as Naruto. Yeah, we won this fair and square, so no, you won't. Tsunade says. Sorry, but kids don't count. The man says arrogantly. Doesn't matter since they were my tokens. And besides, Naruto here pulled it before I could and Tayuya wanted it too. You know how strong that puppy-eyed jutsu is. Tsunade says then asks with assertion. I don't care. My casino, my rules. The man says straightforwardly. Tsunade grows a small tick mark. Really? She asks slowly. You don't want to put those kids in danger, do you? Especially since the blonde one looks scared shitless. The man smirks as his henchmen chuckle. In truth, Naruto still doesn't really trust many people because of what happened. He only trusts Tsunade, Shizune, Tayuya, Taunton, and Jiraiya. There is a small amount of other people he met that he trusts also, but if he doesn't know you, it's hard for him to trust you. Naruto is behind Tsunade, watching the men as Tayuya holds him. Ah look, he needs a little girl to help him. Pathetic. Even she is shaking. The men laugh more. Tayuya is shaking, just not out of fear. More out of anger and she is soon to explode. If you want those two to walk out safely, then hand over the cash. We might give you some as compensation. The man says in a slight reassuring tone. Is this guy that stupid or does he not recognize me, Tsunade-sama? Tsunade and Shizune think. One more chance, or the two little girls get it. Naruto sheds a tear from hearing that. Tayuya sees it and snaps. A red blur goes by as the short man is sent out the doors coming off the hinges. Everyone gasps, seeing Tayuya where the man was. She punched him, aiming for his gut. You stupid son of a bitch. How dare you call Naruto a girl when you are a coward? She screams. The adults inside and outside of the casino gasp at her language. The man struggles to get up since, 1. He didn't expect that and, 2. Tayuya hit him at full force, without chakra however. She didn't want to kill him, yet. If you want to compare her in strength, she has Chunin level strength without chakra on her fists. Tayuya walks out, stomping on the ground, which causes some cracks on the ground to appear, as she goes up to him, picks him up and punches him again, breaking his nose and glasses. You better not call Naruto a girl again or I will kill you, you little bitch. You can't say shit with your short, ugly motherer. She puts him down and kicks him between his legs, making him pass out. The bandits scowl and run at her, weapons drawn. Naruto, Tsunade, and Shizune gasp as Naruto runs for her. Tayuya. He yells as he punches the ground with a chakra-enforced fist. Even though Naruto is the same level as Tayuya, because of the chakra, the ground shakes and quakes, making everyone that is not expecting the punch, fall. The building rumbles as windows break. Lights flicker as people gasp. The whole village feels it. The bandits fall as Tsunade and Shizune move in and knock them all out. Naruto goes and hugs Tayuya. You okay? He asks in a worried tone. I'm okay, Naruto. Are you? Tayuya asks. Naruto nods. Thanks. Tayuya nods and gives him a small kiss. Naruto blushes. Come on kids, let's leave. Tsunade says as the five run and leave the village, after leaving some money for the damage caused. The group of five is walking down the path, heading to Fire Country to go to Wind Country. The last 2 months for them have been interesting. Since they left the casino, bandits have been after them for their money. Too bad they weren't well informed that one is one of the Sannin and 3 of them are her apprentices. Hell, even Taunton can kick when needed. So many bandits were either injured or killed, mainly killed when they made fun of the kids. Right now, things seem peaceful as they walk, until they are surrounded by 10 bandits. Great. This again. Seems like these S want to get their asses handed to them. Tayuya complains. Yeah. She can't hold back the colorful words, even when Tsunade tried to beat them out of her. She failed. Tayuya-chan, remember we can't underestimate them. Naruto says as the 5 look at the sneering bandits. They all look like regular men with no ninja skill, just either huge muscles or skinny bodies, but all with badly maintained weapons. One who looks like the leader walks forward. Give us the money you two or the kids get it. The man says. Wow. You guys are dumb. Naruto says. Watch it, brat. You don't want to get hurt, but we will hurt you if you don't comply. All 5 just give him passive looks, making the leader seethe. Naruto looks at Tsunade. You want to or us? Tsunade cracks her knuckles, smirking as she walks forward in front of the kids. Oh, so you want to cooperate? The leader asks. Tsunade shakes her head as she punches the ground. Shizune and the kids jump up as she does that. The ground shakes as the bandits fall from losing their balance while all have wide eyes. Before they can react, the girls and Naruto go on the attack, hitting all the bandits and knocking them out. The 5 shake their heads and walk away. However, the leader is still conscious and throws a blunt weapon at the group. It heads for Tayuya as Naruto heard him throw it. He gasps and lunges at Tayuya. Tayuya-chan. He screams and pushes her out of the way, the club hitting him instead, knocking him out. The girls gasp and go to Naruto. Naruto is unconscious, but breathing. Tsunade takes his shirt off and checks on him. Tayuya holds his hand as she shakes, some tears dropping. Please be okay. Drip, drip, drip. Naruto groans as he wakes up. What happened? He asks himself as he gets up slowly. Damn, my back hurts. He gasps. That's right. Tayuya. He screams then looks around. What the? Where am I? Naruto sees that it looks like he is in the sewers. Sewer. But, we were nowhere near any. In fact, we were in the forest. He looks at the pipes overhead and sees different sized ones. That is weird. I sense chakra in them. Naruto starts to walk forward as he follows the pipes. He walks for what feels like hours, which might have been since he couldn't tell, until he walks into a huge room. On one wall are huge bars with a piece of paper on one of the bars with the word, seal, on it. Is this a cage? Closer. Naruto jumps from hearing the voice. What was that? Closer to the bars. Naruto stands there, but for some reason, his feet move him forward. Naruto freaks until a huge claw appears from the cage. Naruto jumps back and gets into a rough stance. He still hasn't gotten it down yet, but is still learning. What the hell was that? He screams. He is defensive, but scared at the same time. He then hears a laugh, a deep dark laugh. Well, it is finally good to see my container. Hello, Naruto. Naruto gasps and sees a pair of huge eyes and a row of sharp teeth appear, looking like it is smiling. Kyuubi. Naruto says softly. Flashback. About 4 months back, the group saw Jiraiya again and they got to training. Naruto and Jiraiya were alone for a bit training. Hey Godfather, you never told me how my parents died. What happened? Naruto asked as they had a small spar. Well, want to take a break so I can tell you? Naruto agreed and they stopped. They both sat by a tree as they began to talk. Jiraiya told him everything, including about the Kyuubi. During the time, the girls came back and they heard everything. So, my father and mother sacrificed themselves to save the village. Naruto asked as some tears came down. Tayuya was next to him, holding him. Yes, Minato thought that the villagers would look at you like a hero, but it backfired on him. Naruto, your parents didn't hate you. In fact, they wanted to help you grow and be with you, but circumstances changed that. Sorry, Jiraiya said. It's okay. At least, they were great people. Just wish they were here. Naruto turned to Tayuya. You don't think I'm the Kyuubi, do you? Tayuya looked at him. Hey, I'm not like those stupid villagers, Naruto. I see you not Kyuubi. Besides, if you were, you wouldn't be here and the village would be destroyed. Yeah, true. Thanks. They hugged as the adults chuckled. Naruto turned to Jiraiya. Can you tell me more of them? Jiraiya nodded. Yeah, let me just say this. You look like your dad, but you act like your mom. Jiraiya and Tsunade laughed, remembering the past as Jiraiya told them of Minato and Kushina. Flashback end. And now, Naruto is facing the thing that killed his parents. He isn't sure to be scared or angry. You have all the right to be mad at me, Naruto. But, I should tell you of that day. Kyuubi says with earnestly. Why? You killed my parents. It was your fault. Naruto screams as tears come down, remembering the story. No Naruto, there is someone else at fault. Naruto looks at the Kyuubi with a tilt of his head. What do you mean? Sit down and I will tell you of that day. Naruto complies and sits. For the next hour, or how long the time goes inside his mind during the time he is in it, Kyuubi tells him everything of that day, even one thing that catches him off guard. You are a girl, Naruto exclaims with wide eyes. Kyuubi chuckles. Yes. Why is that a surprise? Your voice doesn't sound like one. It sounds dark and deep, like a man's. Kyuubi looks surprised then thinks about it. Really? Kyuubi turns her head and says something then hears the echo. She sweat drops then looks at him. You are right. Holy hell. Naruto chuckles nervously. You aren't gonna hurt me for pointing that out, are you? Kyuubi looks at him. No. That would be stupid. But, what I said before is true. Then, it wasn't your fault. It was this guy with an orange mask and, what you said, a Sharingan. Naruto asks unsure. Kyuubi nods. So, I can't be mad at you then. Besides, I know you don't like being stuck in me. Is there any way to free you? Kyuubi is taken aback by this. She thinks about it, but can't come to terms. After all, he forgave her, kinda. Well, there's one, but you would end up dying. You don't want to leave Tayuya behind now, do you? Naruto gasps then shakes his head. No, there is no other way. Kyuubi shakes her head. Well then, I don't know. Wish this place was better though. He says as he looks around. Now that you can change. How? He asks with another tilt of his head. Remember, I told you we are in your mindscape. Which means, you can change this to look like anything. Naruto looks confused. Like, using my imagination. Right. Kyuubi says with reassurance. Naruto thinks about it and nods. Okay, but to what? Well, I am a fox and we foxes love the forest. Okay. Naruto says as he closes his eyes. He imagines a forest like the ones he saw through his travels. He remembers all the trees and mountains he saw on their walks. Kyuubi looks around as the space around them starts to change. The sewers go away as the floor is replaced with grass. The walls disappear as a huge forest replaces them. Kyuubi hears random animal sounds and water. She looks to her right and sees a clearing that has a huge lake with mountains as the background. The bars and seal between her and Naruto change to a collar around her neck that can be adjusted. Naruto opens his eyes and gasps at his work. Wow, my imagination rules, he says with a cheer. Kyuubi chuckles at that. No one has ever done this for me before. Well, I do forgive you since you were controlled, and this is how I did. Kyuubi nods and begins to change. She goes from a huge fox to a 6-foot-tall woman. She has on a red kimono with a bow on her hair that cascades down her back. Her face still looks like a fox, but shows warmth. Behind her are her 9 tails, swaying in the wind. Think of Lust from FMA but with kitsune features. Wow, you are very pretty, Naruto says, blushing. Kyuubi tries hard not to go kawaii on the recently turned 8-year-old. Hey, is your name really Kyuubi? No, it's not. Her voice is now more feminine compared to her fox form, but still holds power. It is Kurama, but I never really liked that name. Too masculine. Probably because of my voice. Naruto nods. Well, now you sound like a girl. Maybe when you are in your other form, it changes. He then thinks. What about Asa? Asa? Huh, I like it since you came up with it. Naruto blushes and giggles, making Kyuubi tackle him and pinch his cheeks, saying, kawaii. Naruto doesn't like that. Asa, that hurts. He whines. She giggles. Sorry, but thank you, Naruto. You're welcome. Now, do you want a house or cave? He asks while rubbing his cheeks. Cave. But, make it big enough for my other form. Okay. Naruto says as he closes his eyes and makes a huge den under a big tree in the forest, bigger than Kyuubi's fox form. Wow. Huge. Well, is there any way to go back? I think the others are worried. Yes. Just imagine you waking up. I already healed your back, but you will still feel an ache. Okay. Thanks, Asa-chan. Can we see each other again soon? Yes. But for now, if you want to talk, just think it. Oh, and Naruto, there is a way I can help, but the time is not right. Find the waterfalls of truth. There is how I can help you without hurting you. Okay. Later. Naruto says as he closes his eyes then vanishes. Asa smiles and sheds a tear. Thank you, Naruto. You are the second human to show me compassion and forgiveness. The best way to help him is to go to the waterfall of truth, but I have no idea where that is. Asa thinks as she walks into her new den. Naruto wakes up and sees he is on a bed, inside a white room. Aw man, a hospital. But, where? Naruto sits up and sees Tayuya lying next to him. He smiles and kisses her gently. Tayuya stirs and gently opens her eyes. She gasps and holds him. Naruto. Naruto hugs her back, but winces. Tayuya-chan, my back is still sore. Tayuya backs off. Sorry. But, thank you for earlier. She says with a kind smile. Hey, you would do the same and besides, I don't want to see you hurt, ever. Tayuya smiles and kisses him as he kisses back. Both blush, however. They are interrupted when Tsunade opens the door and walks in. She sees Naruto awake and goes to hug him. You okay? She asks worriedly. I am fine, but I need to tell you I met you know who. Is Shizune-chan around? Tayuya and Tsunade gasp at that. Yes, she is. Tsunade says. I need to tell you guys, and later Jiraiya, about what we talked about. And it's a very interesting story. Naruto says with a nod. The two nod. Hey, where are we by the way? Naruto asks. We are in Suna. You have been out for 2 days. Tsunade says. 2 days. Naruto exclaims. Naruto, we are in a hospital. Tsunade reprimands him. Sorry, but 2 days. It felt like hours to me. Naruto rubs his head. Well, we can worry about that later. Rest some more, okay. Your back is still sore. Tsunade says. Okay, Tsunade Obaa-chan. Tsunade chuckles and kisses his forehead as the two kids lie on the bed. Naruto and Tayuya are 8 years old right now. I will make Gaara 2.5 years younger for a sole purpose. I will leave it at that. Suna. After Naruto wakes up again, he tells Shizune, Tsunade, and Tayuya what Kyuubi told him. Their first reaction, a cheer because one of the most powerful beings on Earth is female. That makes Naruto sweat drop. But, they are mostly confused and perplexed. So, someone with a Sharingan eye has the power to control a Biju. Tsunade asks. That is not good. Although, wasn't there a record saying that your grandmother was once a Jinchuriki? Shizune asks. Tsunade looks at her then Naruto and sighs. Yes, that is true. She told me of the time Madara and my grandfather fought and somehow used the Kyuubi, although now she is Asa, to fight against him. Guess he controlled her then also, but it makes me wonder, who is strong enough now to control Asa? They all think until Naruto's stomach intervenes. Naruto blushes as the girls chuckle. Hey, can I leave? I am hungry and hospital food he says with a pout. Yes, you may, Tsunade says. Naruto takes off the covers then goes and gets his clothes, a red shirt with black and blue pants and blue sandals, and runs to the changing room. He comes out dressed as the four walk out. Tsunade and Shizune already talked with the Kazekage and he let them roam around. He asked if they would help out at the hospital when they can in return, which they agreed. Right now, they are eating at a restaurant, all sitting inside. It's hot here. Didn't think Suna would be this hot. Naruto says as he eats a cold sandwich. Even he knows ramen wouldn't be a good idea to eat in this heat, though there isn't a ramen stand in Suna, sadly. Afterwards, the four walk out with Taunton in Shizune's arms. Okay, you two can look around, but stay out of trouble, okay? Remember, this is a hidden village. Tsunade says sternly. Yes, Tsunade-sama, they say as they run off to find a park. Tsunade and Shizune head to where the herb greenhouse is to find some herbs to work on. Naruto and Tayuya run down the village, holding hands, as they find a park. For some reason, they don't expect to see grass and a tree with green leaves, but shrug it off. They head to the center and find a ball. Not wanting to do exercises today, they pick the ball up and pass it to each other from a good distance. Naruto throws it to Tayuya a bit hard and it goes over her. Naruto, you threw it too hard. Tayuya complains. Sorry, Tayuya-chan. They both run to the ball, laughing, until they see a kid sitting on a swing, watching them. The kid sits there, not wanting to do anything as the ball is under him. Hey, you there, can you throw us the ball? Naruto asks. The kid just sits there. Tayuya and Naruto look at each other then walk to him. Hey, you okay? Naruto asks. The kid slowly nods, obviously shaking, but for a reason only he knows. Why you shaking? Tayuya asks. The kid says. Hey, we won't hurt you. What's your name? Naruto asks. Gaara, the kid says softly. Well Gaara, I am Naruto Uzumaki and this is Tayuya. He greets as Tayuya waves. Gaara softly smiles, but then his expression goes back to a sad one. Aren't you scared of me? He asks softly. Scared? Why? We just met. Tayuya says. Hey, why don't you play with us? Naruto asks. Gaara looks at him. But I am a monster. He says quietly in a low voice, but they hear him. Monster? Tayuya asks. Gaara nods. You don't look like a monster. Heck, I look more of a monster, but that's because I'm a bit crazy and I do pranks. Naruto says with his infamous grin. Gaara looks at him with wide eyes. But, I am. People call me that, he says, softly still. Well then, they are blind and dumb. Now come on, play with us. Naruto says as he and Tayuya bring their hands forward. Gaara moves back a bit, but see that they aren't trying to hurt him. Not even the sand is moving to stop them. Gaara shakily moves his hands forward as they grab them and stand him up. Naruto goes and gets the ball, then gets to the center. Tayuya leads Gaara also. Okay, catch. Naruto says as he throws the ball, gently of course. Gaara looks at the ball and, still holding his hands out, catches it. This makes Gaara smile a bit. Okay, you can throw it back. Naruto says. Gaara does. This goes on for maybe half an hour. Hey, what are you doing playing with him? They turn and see some kids. We are playing because we can. Naruto says. Gaara moves behind the two, shaking a bit. Why would you want to play with that monster? Another kid asks. Naruto and Tayuya narrow their eyes. We are playing with Gaara, not a monster. Tayuya says. Yes, you are. He will kill you. The same kid says. The two tick. You better be quiet. Naruto says threateningly. A kid, who is a bit bigger than the others, walks forward. No, you better give us our ball back if you are with him. The kid says with a sneer. Inside, however, he is scared of Gaara. Your ball, huh? Naruto asks. Tayuya smirks. Maybe we should give it back. She says as she grabs the ball and tosses up and down with a smile that says, you really want it? Yeah, give it here. The big kid says. Okay. Tayuya s her hand back, then throws it hard, not too hard, just enough to bruise, and hits the kid on the stomach. He is sent back a couple yards before hitting the ground. The kids look at him, then her, then run to the kid, grab him, and run away, screaming and crying. Tayuya and Naruto chuckle. That was fun, she says. They turn to Gaara. Hey, want some ice cream? Tayuya asks. Gaara is confused. But, didn't you hear them? He asks softly. That they are idiots. I think we heard that. Naruto says. Gaara smiles softly. So, want to go get ice cream? Tayuya asks again. Gaara nods as all three of them walk towards the village. In the cage tower, the cage watched the whole thing with his crystal ball. In this story, all cages have one, since they use it for to check on their village. Yeah, that. A small smile is on his face as he watches his son walk with the two kids Tsunade brought with her. Maybe these two can help him. I hope, he says with a somber look on his face, regretting things he has done in the past. The three of them are walking around, trying to find an ice cream place, but come up short when no one pays attention to them. What is wrong with these people? Naruto asks with frustration. I don't know. Hey, maybe you can henge, Naruto. Tayuya suggests. Hey, yeah. Naruto goes into an alley. Out comes a man, with black hair, black eyes, and fair skin with clothes that makes him look like he belongs in Suna. Be right back. His voice is still the same though, something he still needs to work on. Few minutes later, he comes walking up with 3 ice cream cones, all the same flavor. He sits on a bench and hands one to Gaara and one to Tayuya. Naruto turns back as all 3 of them eat their ice cream. So, what was that? Gaara asks softly. That is called henge. It can make anyone who uses it to look like someone else. My godfather taught me a while back. Naruto says. Hey Gaara, why did those kid call you a monster? Tayuya asks. Gaara stops eating his ice cream and looks down. Because, I have something in me, he says real quiet. What you mean? Naruto asks as he eats his ice cream. I really don't want to talk about it. He says softly, but licks his ice cream slowly. Naruto looks at him. Hey, Asa. Asa opens her eyes. Yes, Naruto. Just wondering, can you check Gaara over here? Asa looks at Gaara through Naruto's eyes and gasps. Shukaku. Who? Gaara there is like you, Naruto. He has my brother, the one-tail raccoon dog. Naruto nods. So, people call you a monster because of something inside you. Gaara nods slowly and sadly. Then, they are missing out on a good friend. Naruto says with a smile. Gaara looks at him in confusion. Fr friend. Yep. Hey, want to play a game? Naruto asks. Gaara nods slowly. Naruto eats his ice cream quickly as Tayuya eats hers slowly. You should eat slower, Naruto-kun. She says. Sorry, but come on. Let's go play tag. Naruto stands up as the other two do too. They all walk to the same park from before, still empty. Naruto looks around as he walks to the center, then does some hand signs and hits the ground. Earth release. Stone pillars. He says as some pillars rise up from the ground. They are as tall as the tree in the park. Naruto turns to them as Gaara looks at the pillars. Okay then, Tayuya can go first. Tayuya looks confused as he tags her, then grabs Gaara's hand. Run, Gaara, or she will touch you and you will be it. Naruto says with excitement. Hey, not fair, Naruto. Tayuya whines, but runs after, then, going around the pillars. They play for half an hour until all three are panting and lying on the ground. Awesome, Gaara. You are a tag expert. Naruto says as the three giggle. Gaara, in all his life that he remembers, has never had this much fun. Naruto. Tayuya. They sit up and see Tsunade walk up to them. Tsunade-sama. They say and wave. Gaara, not trusting of others, moves closer to Naruto. Huh, hey Gaara, she won't hurt you. Gaara looks at him, then Tsunade, who comes up to them. Who's he? You too? She asks. This is Gaara and he is our new friend here. Naruto says. He's fun to play with. Tayuya adds. Tsunade smiles. Well, nice to meet you, Gaara, but it is getting late, you too. She says. Ah, they say. Hey Gaara, want to play tomorrow? Tayuya asks. Gaara nods. Okay, meet us here then in the morning. Naruto says. They stand up as Naruto and Tayuya walk with Tsunade and wave to him. Gaara waves back and walks to his home. This went on for a month. Gaara got close to Naruto and Tayuya. They even met his brother Kankuro and his sister Temari. At first, they were scared since they knew what their little brother held, but after being dragged into it by Naruto and Tayuya, they got to accept him. Yeah, these two can make anyone accept anybody. Eventually, Naruto tells them that he is like Gaara. Gaara accepted him quickly since he knows of his pain. All five became good friends, although Temari got on Tayuya's good side by not trying anything against Naruto, even though she found him cute. Since then, the five are seen hanging around Suna. People wondered why those kids were playing with the monster, but none tried anything, especially after Naruto's prank. 5 months passed as Naruto, Tayuya, Tsunade, Shizune, and Tonton are all at the gate. The Sand siblings and their father are there, saying their goodbyes. Will we see you again? Gaara asks. During the 5 months, Gaara went from a quiet child to having a bit of Naruto's personality. He is still reserved, but not shy like he used to be. Of course, Gaara. We are friends now, Naruto says. Tayuya agrees. Gaara and his siblings smile. Okay, hope to see you guys soon. Gaara says. Likewise. And remember Temari-chan, don't let Kankuro into your makeup. Tayuya says. It's not makeup, it's war paint. Kankuro yells angrily. Hey, I think it's cool if that counts. Naruto says. You think anything is cool, Naruto-kun. Tayuya says. Naruto slumps from that as the others laugh. The group leaves as the others wave goodbye and watch them leave. That is one crazy kid. Kankuro says. Well, he is cute. Temari brings up. Kankuro and Gaara look at her oddly. What? It's a girl thing, she says as she crosses her arms. You wouldn't say that if Tayuya was here. Kankuro snickers, then he gets hit. Not funny. Temari exclaims. Kankuro gets up. Ow. That hurt. The two start to bicker as Gaara smiles. Come on, let's go back. Gaara says as the four of them head to their homes. It is early morning as the kids wake up from a long sleep. Apparently, it took a while for their bodies to get used to the altitude. Morning, Naruto-kun. Morning, Tayuya-chan. They kiss as they look around. They see Tonton, Shizune, and Tsunade asleep. We must have slept a long time. Naruto says as he stifles a yawn. Yeah, Tayuya says while stretching. Want to take a bath together? She asks. Naruto nods as the two of them walk to the bathroom in the room and prep the tub. 30 minutes later, the two of them walk out of the bathroom, squeaky clean and dressed, and see everyone still asleep. They sweat drop. Wow, long night it must have been. Tayuya says as Naruto goes and opens the blinds. The light hits everyone as they groan awake. Even Taunton groans and oink. Morning. Why are you tired? Naruto asks. Tsunade yawns and pops some of her bones. Long night. We were working at the hospital, taking out some bugs. She says. Bugs? Tayuya asks. It's called an exploding bug. Apparently, the Raikage and some ninja were ambushed and some ingested the bugs by accident. Seems like they wanted them dead. But, we took them out. Shizune says, stretching her body. The kids nod slowly. So, how long are we gonna be here? Naruto asks. As long as we want. Since we aren't being chased by debt collectors, thanks to you two, and the Raikage thanked us, he said we can stay for as long as we want. Tsunade tells him. Well okay. Why don't the two of you shower and we can eat later? I am hungry. Naruto says as his and Tayuya's stomachs growl, making them blush. The women giggle. After everyone got cleaned and ate, they head to the Raikage tower. There, they sit in front of the desk. Naruto and Tayuya try to sit still since they want to go around and see the village. Looks at them. Seems like you two are energetic. The kids nod with a smile. Yeah, we want to see the village. Naruto says excitedly. Laughs. Well, let me finish up here and you guys can. The two nod. So, what would you two like to do? The Raikage asks Tsunade and Shizune. With your permission, we would like to work in the hospitals for as long as we can and oversee things. After all, the medical arts I am dedicated to. Tsunade says. Shizune agrees. Well okay, I can accept that. Stay as long as you can. And you two have fun. He says, the last part being to the kids. I will get you an escort. Calls up his secretary and calls for Yugito. A while later, a young kunoichi walks in that is older than the kids. Raikage-sama, she says with a salute. Yugito, I called you here to watch over these kids, and before you complain, these two are with Tsunade-san and Shizune-san who helped out yesterday in taking out the bugs inside me and some of the shinobi with me. Also, I will pay you a B rank payment. Better make it A. Tsunade and Shizune think. Yugito was about to protest, but hearing those two reasons is good enough for her. Yes, Raikage-sama. Come on, you two. Naruto and Tayuya get up and wave to her as they run out the room, followed by Yugito. The three are walking around. Well, more like the two kids are jumping from place to place. They do this in every village they went to. Yugito sighs, wondering why she accepted, but at least they aren't causing trouble. The two hyperactive kids walk next to her after jumping around. So Yugito-san, what do you do for fun? Naruto asks. Well, I train, read, or hang with friends. Yugito responds. Ooh, can we hang with them? Tayuya asks. Yugito shrugs. Sure, why not? The three of them walk down the village and onto a training field with 3 people already on it. The kids watch them as they see them spar, using swords. Samui, Karui, Omoi, what's up? The three turn and see Yugito and 2 kids with her. Hey, Yugito-san. Samui speaks. Who are they? She asks. Oh, these two are with Tsunade-sama and Shizune-san who helped out the Raikage and shinobi that were attacked and I am here as their escort. They wanted to see the village. Yugito says. The 2 kids nod. I am Naruto Uzumaki. And I am Tayuya. Pleased to meet you. They say. The 3 smile and greet them back. The trio are only 2 years older than them. While Yugito is 4 years older. So basically, you are babysitting those 2. Omoi asks. No baka. I said escort. Yugito screams. Omoi sweat drops. Shesh. Don't yell. You might make the mountain fall. Karui smacks him on the head. Thank you, Karui. Yugito says with a sigh. So, you guys use swords? Naruto asks. Yep, little man. Karui says. Cool. He exclaims. Then in a flash, Naruto is all over them. Tayuya sighs before she walks up to him and hits him. Naruto. She yells. Ow, Tayuya. That hurt. Naruto whines. Well, next time, don't get in their space. Tayuya reprimands. Naruto pouts. I was just checking their swords. Shesh. The girls chuckle. So, how long are you two here? Samui asks. We don't know. Until Tsunade-sama says we leave. Tayuya says. So, are you two apprentices of hers or something? Karui asks. Yep. We are learning to be medic nins. Naruto says. The rest nod. Bet it must be easy. Omoi says. If you think balancing on a sanban on water while using a single finger and being upside down is easy, then it is. Tayuya says with a lot of sarcasm. The four teens gasp at that. Why? Karui asks. You need tons of chakra control to be a medic nin or you can kill whoever you are trying to save. Naruto says. He does the mystical palm technique as his hand glows green. It's not easy doing this, especially if you are a chakra powerhouse. The four teens look at him. Powerhouse. A kid like you? Karui asks, unsure. Naruto grows a tick mark. Hey, I have cage level reserves thanks to my Uzumaki blood. That and, Naruto stops talking as he and Tayuya get nervous. And what? Yugito asks. Nothing. The two say quickly with a nervous smile. The four teens get closer to them. You can tell us. Samui says. I bet they are aliens or something. Omoi says, making the other sweat drop. What kind of thinking is that? Tayuya asks, exclaiming. His kind. We think he is defected in his head. Karui says. Hey. Omoi looks at her, then shrugs and takes out her. The kids look at him oddly. So, gonna tell us? Yugito asks. Sorry, but I don't want you to hate me. Naruto says softly. The four teens give him a skeptical look. Hate you, kid? We just met you. Karui says. Naruto. Yeah, it's okay. The girl there Yugito has my sister Matabi, the two-tailed cat. Naruto gasps then looks at Yugito. He leans up to Yugito and whispers in her ear. Yugito goes wide-eyed. Really? Naruto nods. So, that is why, well, you can trust us. She says. Naruto and Tayuya look at her with a tilt of their heads. Yugito smiles. Well okay, but I guess the best way to say it is that I am like Yugito-san here. Naruto says. The other three teens think about until Samui gasps. So, you are? She asks. Yep. Naruto says. Which one? She asks. Naruto holds up 9 fingers. Samui and Karui gasp, after figuring it out. Omoi is still lost. I don't get it, he says. He is the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Samui says softly. Oh, ooh. Everyone else sweat drops. Omoi, you are slow. Karui says. Whatever. At least my chest is meant to be flat. Omoi says as he crosses his arms. Karui twitches. What did you say? Okay, that is it. Karui goes and pummels him. Tayuya and Naruto lean to Samui and Yugito. Are they always like that? They ask. The two girls sadly nod. Will you two calm down? Not cool. Samui says with some irritation, but keeps her cool. Karui stands up as does Omoi, but slowly. Ow, you didn't have to hit so hard. He says, rubbing his sore spots. Well, you didn't have to call me flat-chested. She retaliates. It is a fact though. I was just stating it. Omoi says, the moving in his mouth, even with the stick broken. The others sigh. Hey, does Reikage-sama know? Samui asks. Not really. Besides, he didn't ask. Naruto says with a grin. The group sweat drops as Tayuya and Asa giggle. Well, he does have a point. Tayuya says. Might be best to take him to Killer Bee. Omoi suggests. The girls nod while Naruto and Tayuya become confused. Killer Bee. They ask. He is our sensei and A's brother. He is also like you. Samui says. The two kids gasp. So, that is why I sensed Hachibi nearby, Asa says in wonder. Hachibi. Naruto asks. Yes, that is his biju. Kyuubi told you. Yugito asks. Yep. She said she sensed Hachibi nearby. The group nods before getting wide eyes. She. Karui asks. Yeah, Asa is a girl. And I named her that since Kurama is too masculine. Naruto says. They nod, then the girls cheer, making the guys sweat drop. Really? Why do girls always cheer when they find out? Naruto asks. Can't answer that, man. Omoi says. Anyway, let's go. Yugito says. The group heads for B's house, after telling A. He was neither mad nor happy, especially after Naruto told him of his life. A understood, but told him to be careful. His brother is odd. Tayuya and Naruto became confused at that, but shrugged it off. The group heads outside of the village as they trek down the path. Why are we outside the village? Tayuya asks. Best way to put it. B-sensei can use all of Hachibi's chakra. Omoi says. The two become confused. Use it. Odd, I can't use Ace's. Well, it is toxic for the user. However, there is a different way to use it. Yugito says. Naruto is in thought until Asa reminds him of something. Asa asked if the waterfall of truth is here. The group flinches and senses their surroundings. Not wanting to spill anything out into the open, they hurry forward and take a path that leads to B's house. Tayuya and Naruto wonder why they don't say anything as they are dragged. They finally make it to their destination, which the kids gasp. Wow! This place is huge. Naruto exclaims. Hey, well, it has to be. Now to answer the question Asa asked, yes, it is here. I am guessing Asa wants you to use it. Yugito says. Naruto nods. Yeah, she said she wants me to go there. Well, it is the place B-sensei went to form a type of bond of sorts. Samui says. Pretty much. B-san can use all of his Biju's chakra and not get hurt. Well, he can, but only if he faced an equal or stronger opponent. Yugito says. Both of the kids absorb everything. Well, if it isn't Miss 2. Samui, Karui, and Omoi are here too. The group turns to the person that is horribly rapping, except for Naruto. He finds it interesting. They see a tall man, almost identical to A. Hi B-sensei. The group minus the kids say. Hello my students, I see you have some guests. And it seems like Blondie there is the host of Mr. 90. Heyo. Yeah, I can't rap for shit, so sorry. I might make B look worse than he already is. I don't hate B. Actually, I am a fan. Hello. My name is Naruto and this is Tayuya. Oh, and Asa, who is Kyuubi, is female. Naruto says. B is taken aback, until a small argument later with Hachibi, he nods in understanding. Sorry, but Hachibi left out that little info. So, tell me, what are you doing here 90? Tayuya sulks. This guy is bad at whatever he is doing. Well, we are traveling and stopped here in Kumo. Naruto says. Just you two. Pretty brave too. B says. No, we are also with Tsunade of the Sanin and Shizune Nei-chan, her apprentice. We are also her apprentices. Tayuya says. So, did you two get her strength or just her medical training? I wouldn't mind testing you out with training. B says. Yeah, we did. Tayuya answers. Yugito, Samui, and Karui have wide eyes. Omoi is lost. Her strength. Stupid, you forget Tsunade-sama is the strongest kunoichi in the world and the most famous. Karui asks, irritated. Omoi then gasps, realizing now, making everyone sweat drop, except B of course. So, can you help us out with the waterfall of truth? Naruto asks. Well, I would have to ask my brother. B says a bit seriously. Tayuya walks up. Please. My boyfriend really wants to see it. Tayuya does the dreaded puppy-eyed jutsu. Not even B can turn away from that. Okay, just turn that jutsu off. That jutsu is evil. Whoever made that hated people, I think. For once he doesn't rap and isn't serious. He is trying to get the sight of that jutsu out of his mind, which gives the girls and Hachibi a weapon against his rapping. 4 months later. Ever since Naruto and Tayuya met Killer Bee, Yugito, and Team Samui, they had been training with them. Everyone was surprised by their strength, except Bee, who already knew of the strength Tsunade possessed. They trained together for about 4 months until Bee thought Naruto was ready for the Waterfall of Truth. Right now, all of them, including Tsunade and Shizune, with Taunton, are sitting in the Raikage's office. So, you want to check out the Waterfall of Truth, Naruto? Asks. Yep. Asa told me to go there since it is the only way she can help me out since her chakra is toxic to me. Naruto replies. Yes, all Biju's chakra is toxic. Kuribi, Tsunade-san, what do you think? Asks. Well, big bro, Naruto here is very strong. I wouldn't be surprised if he does pass the trials. B says in all seriousness. Well, I did teach both of them my strength training. They need a bit more work, but they are up there in power. Tsunade says. By the way, what do the trials entail? She asks. Well, he has to face his dark side at the waterfall. A says. Then face his Biju and fight. B adds. Tsunade gasps. What? Is that even possible? B already went through it and came out alright. A reassures her. Tsunade looks at Naruto. You sure you want to do this? Naruto nods. Yes. Asa told me she wants to help. Tsunade sighs and rubs her head. Okay, but you better be careful. I will. Naruto says with a grin. And you watch him. Tayuya nods. Of course. Someone needs to watch him or he might do something stupid. Tayuya-chan. Naruto whines. The girls giggle and the guys shake their heads. Okay then, if you are ready, then I won't stop you. Tsunade says. The group is now making their way through the forest of the island turtle. When the kids first saw it, they were amazed. Inside is even more amazing. Killer Bee tries to get Naruto into rapping, but Tayuya puts a stop to that. It takes a while, but thanks to their guide, they make it to the waterfall. So, that is the Waterfall of Truth? Naruto asks. They stand near a lake, facing the huge waterfall. Yep. Go to that platform and sit then concentrate. The rest will happen, Yugito says. Naruto gives her a skeptical look. That is it. Well, the fight will be in your mind. Yugito says. Ah. Naruto water walks over the lake then makes it to the platform. He sits on it and gets into a meditative pose. He closes his eyes and breathes slowly. How long does it last? Tayuya asks. Depends. B says. On how much darkness there is. Yugito says. Naruto opens his eyes and sees the falls in front of him. He looks around, however, and sees he is alone. So, this is the falls inside my mind. Naruto says to himself. Pretty much. Naruto gasps as he hears a voice identical to his, but distorted at the same time. He looks around as he stands up. Are you my dark side? Yep. Look forward. Naruto doesn't sees himself, but his eyes are darker and his skin lighter, almost gray. He then sees the dark Naruto walk forward and come through the waterfall. Hello me. DN says. Hey. So, they said we are supposed to fight and for me to conquer you. You can try. But first, let's talk. Naruto nods as they look at each other. So, what you want to talk about? Well, you must know I am your dark side. Obvious. Naruto gives him a dumbstruck look. Sorry. But you must know why you have a dark side. I know. It is because of my hatred of the villagers. Yes, but there is more. Naruto becomes confused. More. Yes. Hate for all people. I don't hate everyone. Yes. I don't trust most but I can't hate if I don't know them. No logic there. DN snorts. Keep telling yourself that. But, you know it is true. How? How can I hate someone that I never met? Because you thought that since you were little. Naruto sighs. True, but I have changed. I have learned a lot. Even if you have, those thoughts still linger. Yes, okay, fine they do but Tsunade-sama, Shizune-chan, Tayuya-chan, and Jiraiya-san are making me rethink those thoughts. Well, I can think of different reasons for the older two, but Tayuya is another story. Naruto looks at him with narrowed eyes. Don't talk bad about Tayuya. She is different from all I have met. Yes, but you had that small lingering thought in the back of, no. I never have. Tayuya changed me the most. I never felt love before and she showed it to me. So don't talk bad about Tayuya. DN smirks. Okay. Then back it up. The two take the same stance that B showed him. It is one B used before using swords. They go at it as they fight, hit for hit and blow for blow. They are one and the same. Why can't you realize it? You have that one thought. DN says. Then I will beat you and beat that thought. They keep going, but Naruto starts to go harder and faster. DN does the same, but he notices something. Naruto is crying. DN scowls as they keep fighting. This goes on for 15 minutes until DN taunts again. Admitted Naruto. You have that. Shut the up. Naruto screams as he gets in the hit, a right hook to the face. DN is sent flying through the falls and becomes trapped in them. Damn it. I was close too. Why are you stuck in the past? DN looks at Naruto. What do you mean? DN asks. We are not in the village anymore. We are out of it and we have people that care. Yes, I know you are me, but you are still stuck in the past. Yes, I can't let go of it easily, but that doesn't mean you had to say what you were gonna say. We both know Tayuya-chan changed us. For the better. DN scowls, but looks down and sighs. You are right. Fine. You beat me. But I will say this. Fighting Kyuubi will be very different. Shut up. And her name is Asa. Naruto closes his eyes then opens them again. He sees he is back at the falls. He looks around and sees the group. How did it go? Tayuya asks. I beat my dark side. Naruto says with a grin. That is good. Now, let's go to the next step. Yugito says. The group and Naruto walk forward. Remember, I can never go away. I am your dark side and I can never leave. Be quiet already. Naruto thinks as the DN stops talking. The group walks through the falls and is now walking through a corridor. They walk to the end of it and see a huge temple with a lot of headless sculptures. B thought it would be funny to make a joke about the statues. It doesn't help in any way possible. So, that is the temple, huh? Naruto asks as they keep walking. Yep. In there is where you will fight Kyuubi, or Asa as you named her. Yugito says. The group makes it to a wall where it has a sculpture of the Matabi's head. So, how do we get in? Tayuya asks. Naruto has to put his body into the mouth of the statue and the gate opens. Yugito says plainly. What? The two kids yell. Oh, just go do it. It's not like the head comes down or anything. Omoi says. Right. Naruto and Tayuya look at Omoi with wide eyes. Karui smacks him. Omoi, keep that to yourself. She yells at him. Ow. Well, put your head in. If you have no darkness in your heart, then the door will open. Yugito says. Naruto is nervous, but walks to the sculpture. He sticks his head in then crawls into the mouth. Everyone waits. Then Naruto comes out, covered in dirt and grime. Yuck. Why don't you guys ever clean in there? Naruto cleans himself off as the door on the side opens. Turns out there is a switch in there. You could have said something, you know. Naruto looks at Yugito as she snickers. Naruto pouts as they walk into the first chamber. So, what do we do in here? Naruto asks. Well, in here will be the same as the waterfalls of truth, but instead of facing your dark side, you face Kyuubi. Yugito says. How is that different than going into my mindscape? Naruto asks. This is a test, little man. And any host can do that. Just go and sit. B says. At least Naruto got the key from that pervert, Karui says, making the girls shake their heads. Flashback. The group was at B's home, training. It had been 3 months and 2 weeks now since Naruto and Tayuya arrived with their guardians. All were fighting in a 3-on-3 bout with B watching. So far, they were at a tie. Team Samui vs. Yugito, Naruto, and Tayuya. The three went again when the Toad Sage mega pervert, Jiraiya, came into the scene. Everyone stopped and looked at him. Arrow Sennin. Naruto and Tayuya greeted him. Jiraiya faltered as the rest chuckled. What did I say about calling me that? He exclaimed. Oh, right. Hi Mega Arrow Sennin. The two corrected themselves. Jiraiya hung his head. Not exactly the respond I wanted, the kids giggled. So, what are you doing here, Godfather? Naruto asked. Well, I was nearby and thought to check upon you too. Didn't know you were training with Killer Bee. Jiraiya said. Yeah well, since you are rarely around, we thought, why not train with ninjas that actually like to train? Tayuya remarked. Hey. Jiraiya sulked. Everyone else chuckled. Not funny. So, I heard from Harem that you are going to the Waterfall of Truth. The kids nodded. Well, we are training right now. Yugito said. Jiraiya looked at B. Is he ready? B nodded. Little 9 is ready as can be. Or my name isn't Killer B. Everyone's sweat dropped, except Naruto. Then I guess I should give you the key. But you have to remember, Kyuubi, Jiraiya starts. Asa. Naruto corrected him. Asa is very strong and will try to resist. Naruto was confused. Why? You will see when you get there. Yugito said. Right. Garotora will be pissed. Jiraiya did a hand sign then opened his mouth. A toad popped out, making everyone blah at the sight. Then the toad came out. His body being very long. That earned some vomit from some and green skin from others. The toad was now standing in front of Jiraiya, towering him by a foot then shrink down in size. After everyone got their stomachs in order, they all looked at the toad. Jiraiya, why am I here? And why are there people around? The toad demanded. Well it seems Naruto is ready to face Kyuubi, Garotora. Jiraiya said. Garotora looked confused. Ready? He is still a child. He exclaimed. Hey, I am no kid. I am Naruto Uzumaki and I am strong. Garotora looked at him. Exactly. You are still a child. He yelled. Jiraiya, what exactly is he? Naruto asked. He is your key. Jiraiya responded. Everyone, minus B, looked confused. Key? Naruto asked. Yes. The key to your seal. Jiraiya said. A toad is the key. Well, I have heard weirder, Naruto said. Everyone nodded. How can he be ready? Garotora asked. Jiraiya looked at B. How strong is he? Very strong-willed and physically strong. He has a good heart. He told us of his life, but said he can't hate the village, just the villagers and wants to change them if he can. B said in seriousness. How strong? Garotora asked. Hi Jonin, which is amazing. I haven't seen anyone as strong and as young as him. Same for Tayuya. But without experience, that will be hard to tell. B said. Well, we do have plenty. Tayuya said. Yeah, we get attacked by bandits that think it would be good to attack 2 women with children. Naruto said. Everyone else sweat dropped. Garotora sighed. Will I regret this? Number. Asa is very nice. And she says she wants me to do this since her chakra is toxic for me. B here has been helping me and so have the rest. And B can keep helping me after I pass the trial. Naruto said with determination. Bold words, Naruto. Alright. But if something goes bad, it will be on your head, Jiraiya. Garotora looked at Naruto. Ready. Naruto nodded and Garotora gave him instructions on what to do. It took some time, but Naruto did everything Garotora said. Flashback end. Naruto and B go inside and sit as the rest stay outside. Okay Naruto, I will help you in restraining Kyuubi since this Kyuubi will be different. How so? Naruto asks. Well, think of it as the dark side of you. Her dark side kinda. B nods. Naruto sighs. Alright. The two bump fists as Naruto closes his eyes and concentrates. He opens them as he notices he is back in the sewers and back in front of the cage. Huh, what happened to the forest? Naruto asks as he looks around then into the cage, seeing Asa. But her face is full of anger. Her fur is also darker, like dried blood. Asa, don't call me that. I am the Kyuubi no Yoko. Kyuubi says darkly. Naruto backs off a bit. Are you really Asa? Kyuubi growls. So, where is the real you? Real me. You mean my dark side? I already beat him. I knew that we are the same since I did have dark thoughts back then, but now I am here to face you. You. Dark Kyuubi roars as she looks at the last person she wanted to see, the Yondaime Hokage. She growls and bangs on the bars as Naruto looks at his father. To-san, Dark Kyuubi sees this and isn't sure who to hate more at the moment. Naruto has tears in his eyes as Minato kneels down with a smile and open arms. Hi, Naruto. Naruto runs to him, but neither DK nor Minato would expect what happens next. Wham! Minato is sent flying through the air. He ends up at the opposite wall, making a human-shaped hole. DK sweat drops, but chuckles a bit. Naruto stands there with his arms still extended, still crying. Minato crawls out of his hole and looks at Naruto. Damn Naruto. What a punch. He exclaims, happy as can be. You idiot. You know how bad my life has been. Naruto yells, still crying. Minato becomes confused. Naruto, what are you talking about? Didn't the villagers treat you like a hero? Hero. I was the Ing pariah of the village. Everyone except for 3 people treated me like shit. Minato looks down. So, my wish was never carried out, huh? Naruto and DK raise an eyebrow in confusion. What wish? Naruto asks. For you to be seen as a hero since Kyuubi was stopped. Minato says. But, I guess they let their hatred and fear take over. Of course they did. You have any idea of what they have done to me before I ran away? Naruto practically yells. Ran away? Minato asks, confused, and with worry. Yes, I ran away. I couldn't take it living there. But, at least I found some people that cared. Minato sighs. Did you meet your godfather, at least, before you ran? No, I met him afterwards when I met Tsunade-sama, Shizune-chan, and Tayuya-chan. Now Minato raises an eyebrow. Tayuya-chan, huh, wait, you met Tsunade? Naruto nods. Minato pales. She taught you her strength training, huh? Naruto nods again. Minato rubs his cheek. No wonder that hurt. But, why were you trying to pull off the seal? To combine our chakras. Well, that is what B said. And To-san, Asa isn't bad. In fact, she is better than the villagers. Hell, I think they are the real demons. Naruto says. Minato nods and looks at DK. Well, humans usually fear things they don't understand. That is obvious. Naruto says plainly with sarcasm, DK thinking the same. She told me this is the way she can help and I have to conquer the darkness within her. Naruto says. Then before I go, I will help also. I don't have much time left. Naruto walks to Minato and grabs his hand then gives him some chakra. I figured you are just chakra and if you ran out, you would disappear. He then tightens his grip. But, do something that harms her too much and I will make you regret it. Naruto says darkly. Minato nods as Naruto lets go of his hand. He shakes it, trying to get the feeling back. I see her as a big sister, so watch it. Naruto adds. Minato nods again. DK is taken aback by this. Does he really care? Naruto is about pull the seal again when Minato is kicked in the head by an overhead kick. Naruto and DK have wide eyes. What the? Naruto sees Minato fly to another wall and crash through. They sweat drop, but DK snickers, a bit louder than before. They both see a woman with red hair standing there. Her purple eyes look at Naruto with a smile. Hi Sochi. Naruto has wide eyes again. Ka-san. Naruto has tears again as he hugs his mother. He can't hit her since he really doesn't like hitting women and she might do something to him. Kushina hugs him back. They pull away. Wait. Why are you here? He asks. I put a bit of my chakra in my soul like Minato did. Naruto nods and does the same for her like he did with Minato. But then, why didn't you come earlier? Naruto asks. I did, but I wanted to see you talk with your father first. Naruto nods again. They hear a groan as Minato comes out the wall. He gasps from seeing Kushina. Kushina-chan. Hi Minato-kun. She says with an innocent smile, but Minato knows what that smile means. He is in trouble. I heard everything you two talked about. Now, come here, she says, still smiling and with a sweet voice. Minato is truly scared now. Ka-san, I already hit him and yelled at him. You can do it later. Naruto says. Minato pales, looking at him. DK chuckles from seeing this. Now, before you go nuts with him, can you two help me? B said he would help also, but I might need some help since Asa might resist. What did I tell you about calling me that? DK growls, getting angry again. Naruto looks at her. Why do you hate me? I hate all humans. She responds quickly. Even when I showed you kindness. DK narrows her eyes. Remember, I made a forest for you. DK nods. I did get to know you also. I got to know a lot about you. Naruto pauses. You hate being a prisoner or you just hate the prison? He looks up at her. DK closes her eyes as a tear falls from one, but can't be seen from her fur. Before she can continue, Naruto goes and takes the seal off, then lifts his shirt, showing the seal on his stomach. He then undoes the bandages on his right arm and hand that covers the key. White fire lights up at the tips of his fingers as he brings his hand down onto his stomach, then turns it clockwise. The lock on the cage makes a noise, then spirals outward, the same happening with the seal until a huge black dot with curved lines is where the seal is. The lock is now open. No one moves as Naruto looks at DK. She looks back at him as the cage opens. Do you really hate me, Asa? DK looks down. No. DK shrinks down as her fur goes back to her original red. She wears the kimono that she wore the first time Naruto saw her in this form. Asa then walks forwards and hugs him. A bright white light engulfs the place as Kushina and Minato close their eyes. When they open them again, they see they are now in a forest, the forest Naruto made. They see Naruto and Asa still hugging. You really think of me as a big sister? Of course, Asa-chan. They pull away as she kisses his cheek. Naruto blushes and giggles. So, that is your real form? Kushina asks. No, this is a human form I took. The two adults nod. Okay. I am sorry we never got to talk. The seal on me was very strong and prevented from me the ability to talk with you. Kushina says. I understand, Kushina. It is all right. Asa looks at Minato. And you couldn't think of another way to seal me. You know the life Naruto lived. She yells at him. Minato looks down. I couldn't think of any other way. The sealing done on Kushina-chan was done back in Uzushio in a special room. You really think I could drag you to there? Minato brings up. Good point. But still, Asa. It is fine. What is done is done. Naruto says. Kushina looks at Minato, making him jump. I still need to do something to you. Minato gasps and backs off. Wait. Kushi-chan. Let's talk about this. Minato pales when her hair starts to move on its own, imitating Ace's 9 tails. In a blur, Kushina hits Minato then starts to beat him around. Naruto holds Asa as she chuckles at the sight. Ka-san is scary. After 30 minutes, the four sit in a circle with Minato looking like he went through hell and back. All the anger gone? Naruto asks. Yep. Kushina says with a smile. Minato rubs his sore body. So, why are you two in here? Naruto asks. Well, I am in here to make sure the seal didn't falter. After all, the seal does weaken every year. But, I could only do it once. Though, I guess it wasn't necessary. Minato says looking at him. Naruto nods. And you Ka-san? Well, I just wanted you to have a part of me, Sochi. I always wanted to be with you, but I guess things weren't meant to be. Kushina says, looking down. Minato comforts her. Well, I am glad. But I guess Asa can tell you what she remembers of that day. The two look confused. That day, I didn't attack because I wanted to. I attacked because I was forced to. That really confuses them and raises questions. Asa tells them of what she could remember. Needless to say, they are surprised. So, he controlled you. It wasn't because of revenge. Minato asks. Asa shakes her head. This is troubling. Kushina says. Yeah, well, let's worry about that later. Right now, I want to ask, how you two met and fall in love. Naruto asks. Kushina and Minato look at each other and then chuckle. Now that is a story I like to talk about. Minato says. The two of them talk about their academy days, how they met, about Kushina's scary side, which Naruto saw, and about her being kidnapped. And how Minato rescued her. All in all, there was happiness, sadness, craziness, and lots of love. Naruto hugs them both. I am happy you two met. But, I am not sure I should go back to that village. He says, looking down as he says the last part. Well, that is your decision, Naruto, but, you can't hate the village forever. Minato says. I don't hate the village, just the idiots that live there. Minato and Kushina chuckle. Okay, Sochi. She says. So, earlier you said you met Tsunade-sama, Shizune, and Tayuya, but added Chan at the end. She your girlfriend? Minato asks. Naruto stutters and blushes. What are you talking about, Ttibao? My little Naru-kun is growing up. Kushina says with anime tears. I want to know about her, Ttibao. Tell us, is she pretty? She asks in excitement. Naruto blushes red as Asa chuckles. She is very pretty since Naruto can't stop thinking about her. Nei-chan. Naruto whines and pouts. The adults chuckle. How does she look? Minato asks. Naruto can't talk, so Asa does for him. Well, she is the same age as him, spunky, cares a lot for him, and has red hair, which he likes a lot. I wonder where he got that trait from. Asa asks in wonder, looking at Minato. That's my boy. He's growing up, Minato says with tears. Naruto sulks and pouts. You guys. The three chuckle again. Well, at least you have someone to love, Sochi. Don't lose her, okay? Kushina tells him. I won't, Ka-san. Hey, did Jiraiya teach you the Rasengan yet? Minato asks. No, he said he wanted to wait until I got a bit older and got better chakra control, although I have the second one down. Naruto says. Really? Well, I will teach you, and when you see him, give him a kick to the nuts. He owes me. Minato says. Will do, Tsu-san. Naruto says with a smile. How good is your chakra control? Kushina asks. Naruto holds up his hand and it glows green. The two gasp. You know the mystical palm technique? Kushina asks, impressed. Yep. Tsunade-sama taught me and Tayuya-chan. Naruto says then blushes. Tayuya-chan. You two are close. Minato says. Tou-san. Minato snickers. Okay, we will stop. But, that means your chakra control is very good. He says. Almost. I need just a bit more training. I sometimes fry the fish we practice with when I lose concentration. Naruto says. The two nod then look at each other. We don't really have much time left. We are almost out of chakra. Kushina says. I don't want you guys to go. Why don't I just give you more chakra? Naruto asks. It is not that simple, Naruto. Our souls can't stay here for very long, son. Minato says. Oh. Naruto looks down dejectedly then looks at them. Then, can I give you enough so you can teach me something, that way I have something to remember you by? Naruto asks. His parents look at each other and nod. Alright, we can do that, they say. Well, you are already gonna teach me the Rasengan, so I guess I have that. Naruto says. Actually, I can teach you something else also. Minato says looking at him. What? Naruto asks curiously. You are not gonna teach him the Hiraishin, Minato-kun. Even you had some trouble with that. Kushina says. No, not that. I don't want my enemies coming for him if they learn the yellow flash returned. No, I want him to learn something else. Minato says with a nod. Naruto looks at him. What? I will teach you to master your wind element and teach you some A to S rank jutsus. Even my deadliest and favorite one, the Fuden clone. Minato says. Wind clone? Naruto asks with his head. Yes. It might sound simple, Which it kinda is, but I managed to make them invisible and make yourself invisible also. Naruto gasps as does Asa. I want to learn that. Naruto says excitedly. Minato smiles and nods. Okay. How about Yuka-san? Kushina looks at him as chains appear from the ground then wrap around Naruto and bring him to her. I will teach you my chakra chains. They are good at stopping anything. She says as she hugs him. Whoa. Are you gonna teach me the hair thing? Naruto asks. Minato's sweat drops and looks at her then him. You need long hair for that, Naruto, and I don't think that will happen since you got my hair. You got her spunkiness and impatience, but the hair is mine. Minato says. Naruto sulks. Well, I will try to grow it out. He declares. Yeah, not possible. I tried also. Minato says with a nod. Naruto hangs his head. Aw man. Kushina chuckles. Well, let's get started. Though, how long can we be in here and not be gone for too long? She asks, looking at Asa. Depends. It could be a minute here, a minute out there. A minute here, an hour out there. Or a week here and a minute out there. But the bigger the difference, the more stress on Naruto's body and mind there will be. I will do a month in here per minute, so you get 2 minutes. Nothing longer. Everyone agrees. Sochi, can you do shadow clones? Kushina asks. Shadow clones? Naruto asks confused. That is a no. Minato says slowly. He reaches into a pouch and pulls out a small scroll then opens it and gives it to Naruto. Read the instructions. Naruto nods and reads them then gets up and stands away from them. He makes the sign then yells. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. A ton of smoke appears everywhere as 2,000 clones appear. Minato, Kushina, and Asa have wide eyes and lowered jaws. Holy hell. Even I couldn't make that many in one go. Minato exclaims. The Narutos chuckle and scratch their heads. He got that trait too. Kushina says with a giggle. Okay, half come with me, the other half with Minato. She says in an authoritative tone. Hi, the clones say as they spread out. For the 2 months inside Naruto's head, they train until Naruto gets everything down. Naruto opens his eyes, 2 tears falling from them as he sees B sitting there. Well Naruto, you passed the trial. Congratulations little 9. You are mighty fine. Now, you and I will train back at home and I will help you use Ace's chakra correctly or I will become a little gnome. Naruto's sweat drops a bit at the last line, but shrugs. Between you and me, I like your rhymes. Don't tell Tayuya-chan. B nods. Say, why the tears? B asks. I met my parents. B gasps. And they told me a lot and taught me a lot, but I had to say goodbye. Naruto says, looking down as more tears come. But, I won't let them down. I will make them proud. He says, looking at him with a smile. I think they already are. Now let's go. I'm hungry as a hare. B raps. Naruto chuckles. The door opens as the 2 of them step out of the chamber. The rest of the group sees them walk out. Well, that was quick. You were only gone for like 10 minutes. Omoi says. That is because time works differently in our mindscape. A minute could pass out here while a second, minute, week, month or more could pass in there. Naruto says. The group nods, except Yugito since she already knows. So, what happened? Tayuya asks. Well, I confronted Ace's dark side and met my parents. Naruto says. Tayuya gasps. Really? Yep. I learned a lot. Naruto says. Who were they? Karui asks. Keep it a secret, but they were and are Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage and the Yellow Flash, and Kushina Uzumaki, the Red Hot Habanero and Red Death. Everyone gasps as Tayuya smiles. Your parents are the last Hokage and the Red Death. Karui asks incredulously. She is my hero. She adds with anime tears. I know who the Yondaime is, but the Red Death. Omoi asks. She is the best female kenjutsu user in the nations and still is. No one can come close. Karui says with stars in her eyes. Ooh, Omoi says. Well, she is well known, but not talked about much. Are you going down her path, Naruto? Samui asks. Naruto nods. I will be a kenjutsu user when the time comes, but I don't think I can reach her level, though I will try. Besides, she and Tsunade taught me somethings. Like, Omoi asks. Naruto sticks his hand out and forms a perfect Rasengan. Everyone has wide eyes. Then red and gold chakra chains appear from the ground, surrounding them. I got father's Rasengan and mother's chakra chains. Also, one more thing. Omoi feels his shoulder tapped and turns around. He then feels his shirt pulled and looks around frantically. What the hell? Is this place haunted? He asks, sweating. No. Why? B asks confused. Omoi then gets lifted, freaking everyone out, before being set down. Naruto laughs. Got you. Huh. They look at him in confusion. That is an invisible wind clone. Naruto says, getting up and wiping an imaginary tear. Everyone is amazed, again. Can you teach us that? Karui asks. Well, it depends on if you master wind chakra. It is the only way and works only on wind clones. Well, that is what Tsunade said. Naruto says. Everyone nods. Well, that is true since wind is the only element invisible to the human eye. Samui says. Yep. But for now, let's go back. B is hungry and I am too. Everyone nods as their stomachs agree. After returning from the island turtle and getting some food, they went home since it became late. Naruto and Tayuya are in the hotel with Tsunade, Shizune, and Tonton. They talk with one another of their day. So, you met your parents, huh? Tsunade asks. Yeah, Ka-san said to give her kids to spoil, which would be odd since she wouldn't be here. But, she would be watching over me. Naruto says as Tayuya huggles him. Tsunade chuckles. I will do that for her. The group chuckles. I also learned the Rasengan and how to make chakra chains. Turns out I could do it since I had the gene, but with no one to train me, it was impossible since only she knew. But, they said to keep the techniques hidden until the time is right. Don't want the word to spread about assumptions of my parents. Naruto says. Tsunade and Shizune gasp then nod. True. We don't want that much attention. We get enough now. But, let's sleep. Tomorrow you will go train with B. Tsunade says. The kids nod as everyone goes to sleep. For the next 3 months, Naruto trained with B on how to use Ace's chakra and work in sync. That took some work, but Naruto got it down in 2.5 months. He is a quick learner. Now, they are all in the Raikage's office since they are gonna depart. Well, it was good to have you guys here. Especially you two. You made this place a bit more enjoyable, even if you did prank a couple times. Says. Everyone chuckles as Naruto and Tayuya rub their heads sheepishly, a trait Tayuya got from Naruto. Well, we had fun and learned a lot. Naruto says. Yep. And we got some new friends like we do when we go to villages. Tayuya says. A puff of smoke appears as Jiraiya comes out. Hey guys. Hey Mega Arrow Sennin. Naruto and Tayuya greet. Jiraiya sulks. You two will keep calling me that, huh? I thought you were a proud mega pervert. Tayuya asks. And I am. Jiraiya says in a pose, making everyone sweat drop. Hey Godfather, I passed the trials. Naruto says excitedly. Wonderful Gaki. Naruto gets up and hugs him. Thanks for giving me the key. You are welcome. Jiraiya hugs back. Oh, I forgot to give you something. Naruto remembers. Jiraiya becomes excited. What? Naruto swings his right leg back then kicks him right in the family jewels. Jiraiya goes down. Tsunade said to say hi and that you owed him. Payment now received in full. Naruto says. Everyone sweat drops as Tsunade just laughs. That is funny. She says with a wheeze as she wipes a tear. Jiraiya cries anime tears with real ones mixed in. Payment accepted. He says in a high-pitched voice. Anyway, I wish you guys safe travel and hope to see you guys sometime in the future. Says. Thank you. They say. They all walk out, Jiraiya with a limp and head to the gate. There, B, Yugito, Samui, Karui, and Omoi say their goodbyes as the group leaves Kumo. After leaving Kumo, The group of 5 is now walking to Taki. Jiraiya went in another direction since he mainly wanted to check up on Naruto. Apparently, someone is gravely ill and needs Tsunade's help. Naruto and Tayuya learned a lot from the group they met. It is a good thing Naruto didn't get the rapping bug, or Tayuya would have beaten it out of him. Naruto must have known this. It takes about a week, but they make it to the waterfall. Some shinobi stop them. Halt. Name and purpose of being near Taki. One of the kunoichi says. I am Tsunade of the Sannin and I was called here for a medical emergency. Tsunade tells them. The kunoichi nods. I still need to check you, however, and everyone else. She says. The 5 nod in understanding. After being checked and cleared, they are blindfolded, then lead through the waterfall, then a maze of sorts until they end at the entrance to Taki. Here we are. The kunoichi says as their blindfolds are taken off. They blink at the sudden light after seeing darkness for so long. We will lead you to our leader. She says. The group follows until they end up at the main building of the village. They are led to the office of the leader of Taki. The door opens after being led in and the 5 sit in chairs in front of the desk, well taunted on Shizune's lap. There sitting on the chair is the leader of Taki, Shibuki. He has ink black eyes and long, dark brown hair with a forehead protector. He wears gray pants, a green shirt and ninja sandals, although they can't be seen. Pleasure to have you here, Tsunade-sama. Shibuki speaks. Likewise, Shibuki dono. So, I was called to help treat a patient with some kind of illness. Tsunade asks. Yes. It seems he came down with something and we don't know what. Shibuki says. I see. Would it be alright if my assistant Shizune takes the kids to a hotel of some kind? Tsunade asks. Yes, that would be fine. Shibuki calls for his assistant and tells him to take Shizune and the kids to a hotel. The assistant nods as the kids and Shizune are led out while Tsunade and Shibuki talk. Naruto and Tayuya are at the hotel with Tonton as Shizune went out to help Tsunade. So, what now? Naruto asks. I don't know. Tsunade-sama didn't say we could look around. Maybe when she returns. Tayuya says. Yeah, okay. It is getting late anyway. Let's go take a bath. Naruto says. Tayuya nods and the two head to the bathroom. Afterwards, they go to sleep, cuddling together in bed. Next day, after the kids woke up and had breakfast with Tsunade and Shizune, the two are now heading to a training field. Most of the people ignore them and they don't really find many kids there. The two find an empty field and walk to the center. They get into the kickboxer stance that B taught them. They nod and start their spar. Naruto defends as Tayuya attacks. They do this in 5-minute intervals and change from right-handed to left-handed. B taught them to use power with their right hand and speed with the other. They can hit fast using their left-handed stance and hit hard with their right-handed stance. They were also taught the same for their feet. They even defended by applying chakra to their body parts, which is not easy to do, but thanks to the training they got from Tsunade, it came easy for them. They keep going when they sense someone watching them. They stop and look around, then notice something. No one has been by here ever since they came here. Okay, I am not sure what is weirder, that we are being watched or that no one has passed by here. Naruto brings up. Yeah, but who could be watching? Tayuya asks. They look around as they see a girl their age looking at them. Well, we found the person. Naruto says, stating the obvious. Hey, why are you watching us? Tayuya asks. The girl gasps then runs off. Weird. Naruto asks. Yeah, why she run? Tayuya asks. Because she is like me. Naruto whispers. Tayuya looks at him. You mean, yeah, since me and Asa became one, my censoring capabilities have improved along with other things. She holds the 7 tails, Chome. Naruto says. Maybe she is mistreated here also. We should try to be friends with her, Naruto-kun. Tayuya says. Yeah, but let's let her come to us. Naruto says as the two go back to their training spar. That night. Right now, Naruto, Tayuya, Tsunade, and Shizune are all in their room after having dinner. So, how did it go at the hospital? Tayuya asks. Tiring. Turns out the disease is very advanced. We slowed it down, but we need more time here. Tsunade says. Can we help? Naruto asks. Sorry, but this is too advanced for you guys and I would let you guys watch, but it would be best if I worked this with utmost silence. The two nod. What you two do? Shizune asks. Well, Nei-chan, we went to a training area and sparred. Naruto says. It was weird, but no one ever came by there. Tayuya brings up. Tsunade and Shizune raise an eyebrow. Well, except for one girl, but I have to know, did you guys know Taki has a Jinchuriki? Naruto asks. Tsunade thinks. Not really. It has been a while since I was last here. Which one? The Nanabi. Naruto tells her. Tsunade nods. Maybe I could ask Shibuki. You guys wanted to befriend her. The two nod. Yeah, but we think she might be mistreated like Naruto was. Tayuya says. Tsunade and Shizune nod at that. So, tomorrow if she does come around, we will try to be friends with her. Naruto says. Okay. Well, for now, let's sleep. Everyone nods and heads to bed, Tsunade taking the futon. Next day, Naruto and Tayuya head to the field again. This time they go to the large pond and get on it by water walking. The two get into their stance and spar again. During their fight, they feel they are being watched again, but ignore it, till later. They want to see if the girl would come to them. The spar goes on for 30 minutes until the girl is now hiding in the tree. The two stop as they walk from the pond to the tree. That was fun. Tayuya says. Yeah, good workout. They both sit by the tree as they take out 2 water bottles and drink from them. You think that girl will be back again? Naruto asks. Not sure. You really think she is like you? Tayuya asks. They know she is there, they are just playing possum. Yeah, she is like me since I have a tailed beast too. They are talking quietly so only the three hear. Fu gasps at hearing this, but remains quiet. She might be having a bad childhood right now. Tayuya says. If you could call it that. Naruto says. Well, if she was here, we could be friends with her. Tayuya says. Fu sighs gently and lowly, but they still hear it. We aren't lying, you know. We could be friends with you, if you want. Naruto says out loud. Fu gasps, making her lose her balance and fall. Naruto catches her using his chakra chains and brings her down in front of them. Hello. They say. Fu looks nervous. You don't have to run from us. We don't mistreat people unless they do it to us first. Tayuya says. Fu shakes a bit. I was like you know. When I was in my village, I was mistreated also. Then I ran away and met Tsunade, Shizune, and Tayuya. I learned not everyone is bad. You just have to find the right people, you know. Naruto says, looking at her. Fu looks down. You were also am I mistreated? Naruto nods. Oh, I am Naruto Uzumaki. And I am Tayuya. They greet her. I am Fu. Fu says quickly with a small stutter. So Fu, you train? Naruto asks. Fu nods. Want to train with us? Tayuya asks. Fu doesn't answer. Don't worry. We won't go too far. Naruto says with a grin. You better not, Naruto. Tayuya says. Naruto sweat drops. That was one time. I said sorry. I know. But don't do it again. She says with her arms crossed. You always say that. Naruto cries anime tears. Fu giggles a bit from seeing this. So, let's go. Tayuya says, getting up. Naruto does also as they grab Fu and help her up. What do you do to train? Naruto asks. I exercise. She says softly. Okay, then exercise it is. Naruto says excitedly. Tayuya shakes her head. Calm down. You know our training is different than most. True. Let's just run around a bit then do regular exercises. The three nod, Fu hesitantly as they start to run around the ring in the middle of the training field. While they train, Tsunade, Shizune and Shibuki watch them. So, Naruto is like her. Yes. Tsunade says. Well, I hope they can brighten up Fu. The villagers here treat her differently. He says, looking down sadly. Naruto was too. So badly, he ran away. Shibuki looks at Tsunade. That bad? Yeah, he told us everything. Don't let the same happen to her. Try to find a way to make the villagers like her. Otherwise, she might run away also. Shizune says. Shibuki nods in thought as they see the kids now playing a game. Shibuki smiles seeing Fu smile, something only he sees when he has a chance to see her. The three are playing tag as Naruto chases the girls. Shibuki hopes that the village will change and be friendlier to her. For the 2 months the group stayed, they were eventful ones. Fu had fun with her new friends and always hanged out with them. Whether it was training or playing around, she had more fun with them in the first week than she had in her whole life. But, she rarely went with them to the village. They told her it would be fine. It wasn't at first. The villagers just glared at her or ignored her and Naruto and Tayuya since they were with her. All it took was some convincing. They pranked like crazy the second week of their stay. From using paint, water balloons, flour, trip wires, whatever they could get their hands on. Shibuki helped by giving them the supplies. The people slowly started to come around since the pranks were harmless. They saw that the three are just being kids. Hyperactive kids that were probably given sugar, but just 3 kids doing pranks. They saw Fu as just a child having fun, not a monster or demon that wanted to terrorize them. There was one prank that went a bit too far. They let loose the brakes of a food cart, making it go down a small embankment. The owner tried to overcharge them, which was something you never do. However, the whole village found out that the old man was a thief. Inside the cart was a ton of valuables and a person inside who stole the stuff while the old man pretended to be nice and be a seller. Turns out most of the stuff he sold were also stolen or even broken. Since then, the villagers' opinion changed about Fu. The ninjas, however, were a bit more difficult. So, they thought the only way to convince them was through spars. Thanks to the training Fu got in 5 weeks by the two, Fu became a bit stronger. No, they didn't teach her the strength training, which would be impossible to do in 5 weeks, unless you are made a guy. They taught her chakra control and the works. Like any other child, Fu learned quickly. She was even taught the style B taught them. Fu defeated some of the genin who wanted to prove their worth, some chunin, and a couple low-level jonin who were arrogant. But, never once did she fight angry. Fu wanted to prove to them that she is not a monster, she is a human being that was given something beyond her control. The ninjas who fought her and the ones who watched changed their opinion of her, slowly of course. Most of them, mainly the genin and chunin, wanted her to go to the academy. Fu even got a couple of more friends as did Naruto and Tayuya.